Okay.
Hey, and welcome to Crippled System, episode 306.
Woo!
My name is Andy.
I'm Travis.
I'm Nathan.
And I'm Dave.
And with us is special guest.
Oh, yeah, we should do that.
Yeah.
Are you pointing at your laptop to cue me to talk? Is that what you're doing right now?
That's what I was
Yes,
trying
that's
to do.
what I...
Point. Why don't you point at the camera that's pointing at you instead of the laptop?
We'll point
There
at
we
the
go.
TV
Yeah.
that is you. With us is special guest.
Sure. I apologize for my camera quality. If you could see me behind Travis's head as a glowing blob, it's really awesome.
What he meant to say is, hello, my name's Oz.
Yeah. But I would never do that.
I also like that there's a cursor above your head.
So,
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't say that he's my boss at Private Press because he's not.
Nope.
I'm not going to pull the Will Pagani on this one.
No.
That was amusing when he still introduced you exactly that way at the Gen Con stream.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, hello and welcome, everybody. This is our special Warcaster Neo Mechanica episode with, as we see, special guest Oz, who's from Private Press, and will talk to us about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's also special guest Travis Marg, who's looking sad, but he stole my microphone, so screw you.
Recurring.
I told Travis before the start of the podcast, though, that the red is you.
Yeah, I know. I'm well aware that he did it on purpose and that you told him to.
No,
Neither of those
I didn't tell him
things.
to.
No,
I
he
told-
did
I
not tell
told
me
him.
to.
Okay.
I sat down and went, before I sat down, I went, Andy, which microphone's Nathan? Says the red one. I know where I'm sitting.
Fair.
Andy had no part of it.
I just wanted my nuggies. That's all I wanted.
So first things first, before we get into the Neo Mechanica talk, announcements.
Announcements!
Adepticon continues to be in the near future.
It has not been called off due to coronavirus.
It has not been called off due to coronavirus. It's 2 weeks away now. Like, it's
Yeah.
real close.
It's
So
soon.
It is.
looking forward to seeing all of you soon.
March 25th through 29th.
Yeah.
That would be, 20 days. Less than 20 days.
Yeah, less than, it's, like 50
Oh, so
days.
2.5 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, and we will all be there, and we hope to see a lot of people.
Yeah.
I will be there too.
ATC, of course, will be happening there. It's closed now, right? Or is there
Yes,
still
registration
time? Yeah,
is
registration is
closed.
closed. So
However, if we couldn't do ATC that way. If any other person wants to come to any other events that's not ATC
and isn't full.
and isn't full, they could
You can
register
reg
on
live.
site.
Yeah, on site. We
You can
couldn't
buy
do that with
tickets on
ATC
site.
because when is list lock?
The 13th.
Next Friday.
Theoretically, because I believe there's 2 spots available because we did have a team that
Yes.
wasn't able to come. Theoretically,
I could
from
work
now to the
something.
12th, you could contact Travis or I directly.
Yes.
We can still get you in. You would just then have to register on site once you're there, but you need to register with us before list lock so that we can get the lists.
We could also
Or you
get
could
them-
probably, you can make
I can
it
get
happen.
them in.
But either way, we can finagle that a little bit. So you have until the 12th, which is this
Thursday.
We want to
to
try to make
contact.
sure that they have lists in by 13th, even if
Correct.
they're a latecomer for the
lists are due
registration.
this 13th, so if you register on Thursday, you have 24 hours to turn in your list. But the point is, there's still time. We got room for 2 extra teams because of a drop. Anything else coming? So there's an April 4th Madison event that's going to be happening. Somebody's going to run it.
We're going to have a cage
FPG.
fight to figure out who runs it because there's been one person who normally runs the event says, I can't run it. Maybe somebody else can. And then 5 people joined up and were like, we're going to have an elimination chamber to find out who gets to run this event.
Well, I withdraw my offer to run it and my offer to play in it. I'm not
Why?
going.
What?
Why?
Because I forgot that April 4th I'm already booked.
Oh.
Maybe I could not go to the thing I'm booked to and just make Raylene go alone, but on the other hand, she'd probably murder me.
Is it a wedding or a funeral?
No, we've she signed us up to be fosterers for orphaned baby raccoons and possums and stuff.
What?
And so we have to go on April 4th to finalize the registration and find out all the equipment and stuff like that we would need.
What?
But yeah, then my house would just have a room full of baby raccoons and possums and stuff, and that's super awesome.
You've got you've got lots of extra rooms. Just don't forget about them.
I can't run the event on April 4th as
You'll be
well. I need to go.
We're making sure you're not actually seeing raccoons and
Well, there might
Possums
be
are-
some there to say, here's a little baby. I don't know. That I cannot
Can
guarantee.
you confirm before April 4th?
I will look into it. I will look into it. But I do know that at work every Friday, on our social media internet thing, we post, it's called Fur Baby Fridays, and people post pictures of their dogs and cats and stuff like that. And I will win that son of a gun for the rest of my career if I just have a room full of baby possums and raccoons at home.
Can you get some baby skunks?
Probably.
because they're adorable too.
I'll find a
Everything
skunk mom
babies.
and kill her, and then I'll foster the babies. That's how it works, right?
That's how you get.
You just go out in the wild and just kill an adult and take the babies and go, thank God I saved them. I probably shouldn't say that before applying to be that
Yeah.
person.
No, I'm familiar with this. My ex-wife was a wildlife rehabilitator, so we had all sorts of weird animals.
But how often did you just murder a grown animal and steal its children?
I'm not aware of her doing it,
Fair.
but it wouldn't surprise me. She is my ex-wife, after all.
For that particular reason.
Tangent.
Tangent. Sorry, tangent. Special guest on Focus.
No,
Look at
that's
him.
the
He's
real
bored and
topic of the show. Baby raccoons and possums
Yeah.
and skunks and squirrels and whatever.
And your little pupper.
Oh yeah, my dog is. If I don't know what people can see, but I have a little dog,
What's your doggo's
He's-
name?
Joey.
Is that a
being-
reference to Friends or a baby
No.
kangaroo?
No, he came that way. I don't know.
He just
I don't
came
know what
named
his.
Joey.
Yeah, we adopted him from a person who adopted him from an agency that rescued him in California, and his name was Joey. That's all I know.
We adopted a dog named Taffy, and we decided that Taffy was a dumb name for like an old lady dog, so we changed his name to Georgie Kostova.
The woman that was my ex-wife's mentor in wildlife rehabilitation, she had even weirder animals. She had a porcupine.
Sure.
And they had a porcupine. They kept the porcupine in the cage, and outside of the cage there was a line on the ground. And I was informed that literally what the line was how far the porcupine could piss, because
Yep.
So they're like
Because-
tapers, where they'll do that spray, because tapers are famous for having like
Yeah.
a fire hose, because they're the kings of marking territory with urine.
yeah, because the porcupine, if you got too close to the cage and you weren't going to feed the porcupine, he would projectile piss on you.
At the Madison Zoo, they used to have tapers, and I, on more than one occasion, saw people doused because they were like, it could go like 50 feet. It was like a riot hose. Don't stand behind a taper, Travis. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's our announcements for today.
Yeah, that's my recommendation. Don't
So you
stand
get
behind a
good-
taper.
You see, you get good life advice on this podcast.
Hey, this is the best thing I've heard all week.
Because I bet you were planning on it. You were like,
No.
today I'm going to go behind by. Oh,
It's
don't
Sunday.
hide behind a taper.
It's Sunday though.
Huh?
So all week's a short period of time.
Travis, don't be that person.
Yeah, or maybe
Nathan's totally that person. It's not just me.
does Aj? Are you Jewish?
No.
Oh shoot, because their calendar I
Yeah.
think ends on Sunday, so I was hopeful. Because that would have been a huge uptick in how long his week had been
Oh, sure.
if this was the last day instead of the first day. Well, that didn't work out well.
I'm
Oh,
a
well.
nerd.
Yeah, when I
So-
say week, I mean last 7 days.
Yeah. See,
Travis, is there anyone here that is not a nerd? Further, second question:
there
is there
anyone
anyone
anywhere?
listening to this that is not a nerd?
I mean, that would be a question for the chat, not for.
No, I
for
think I
Travis.
can't
Travis
answer
is
either
a-
the question. Nathan did that to me earlier today. He's like, what did you ask me?
well, it's in regards to. I'm sure that's going to be one of the Zappy Grumble questions we have. But I said to Travis, I know that the answer is going to be all of them, so skip that answer
Oh, yeah.
and answer the obvious sub question when I ask you which Warcaster faction are you buying into.
Yeah.
Well, if Travis doesn't have 4 of everything,
And that's why I knew that first
Then it's
answer
just-
was a given.
So he's
something
going
wrong
to have
with it.
all 5 factions, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the thing is, you actually did 2 questions. It was all of them, and then there's something else.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But
But,
he-
I
he
knew
preempted-
his first, 3 answers, and so I skipped to the 4th question.
And it took me a while to process through. Okay, he answered that one, then he answered this one. Yes, you got that one right.
I speak Travisese.
Yep.
It was for fun.
Excuse me, stewardess. I speak
Andy,
jive.
when you say 5 factions, who have you been talking to? 'Cause, it's-
I don't know. I got like 2 confirmations off of that.
I don't know
Travis
if
told us
that's
so
accurate.
much before he went live.
I said nothing.
Yeah. He said,
I have this model here.
something about NDAs are for losers, Oz is a chump, and then you showed us a bunch of stats. Don't you remember that?
That's not very nice.
Oh, I know it wasn't. That's why we told you. Why would you say such things?
No,
You're a scoundrel.
Microphone thief.
no, we didn't do that.
Speaking of, one last announcement. Currently, there is a Kickstarter going on for a game from a company that we all know and like
And love.
and love
And love, yeah.
And love.
platonically. And romantically.
Depends on the mood lighting.
Yeah.
But it's go to Kickstarter.com and look up Warcaster Neo Mechanica.
Yes.
I think you could just look up Warcaster.
Warcaster.
if you type if you were to Bing Warcaster Kickstarter, it gets you there.
Yeah.
Bing?
Yeah, you go
Why are you
to
using Bing?
you go to duckduckgo.com, you search for Bing, it takes you to Bing, and then you use that to search for Warcaster Kickstarter.
Oh,
What is wrong?
Is there a more efficient way to find things on the internet? I'd like to hear it.
What is wrong with you?
I mean, Ask Jeeves could probably get you there.
Do you
I don't know if Ask Jeeves still exists.
Lycos?
did you suffer an aneurysm on the way here? Really?
Do you not Bing everything?
Oh my god. Anyways,
Yeah.
there's a Warcaster.
Bing is an average.
No, we're gonna
Yeah.
talk about Warcaster.
What?
You know,
Yeah,
Warcaster.
and as of now, according to my phone, we are at 297,000,
Yep.
which is almost 3 times funded, and there is a pretty big, exciting stretch goal at 300K.
Is it the 300K new Warjacks or the alternate Warjacks? Is that-
300K, I believe, is alt sculpts
Of the
for
Warjacks.
the Hunter, the Immortal Weaver, and the Paladin Commander.
How are we on Twitter shares for the Kickstarter announcement? Because I believe that was still getting reached for like the faction wallpaper.
I looked
right?
I looked at it earlier today, and I think it was at 260 or 270 or whatever, and I think 300 is the next
Come on, nerds,
important milestone for that.
We all have Twitters that we don't use. Dust it off, log in
Yeah.
one last
Yeah.
time, share it to your 0 followers, help us get there.
Did
Well-
did ATC follow it or share it?
I know that I had ATC and Crippled System and myself follow their Facebook page. I don't believe that.
shared
I'll
the
have to
thing?
double check if we shared the thing. But
We'll have to go share.
There's
it.
almost 1,600 people backing it, so even if like a fourth of those people have Twitter, then we should be fine.
and if you don't have Twitter, it's free, and you only have to use it this once.
Yeah, just this one time.
Yeah. Or you could use it to yell at people too. 'Cause
Or you
that's
could use
the
it to
best-
follow the Henschel Scroll Twitter
Yeah.
feeds.
Oh my
'cause-
God.
Or you could use it to contribute to the downfall of Western civilization, like most users do.
Yeah.
I think Twitter is evidence that Western civilization already fell down. like it is.
Henschel scrolls.
Yeah, I mean, Henschel Scroll. Oh my God, I'm loving that.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I mean, I know this isn't like directly what your field of responsibility is, but like I hadn't played War Machine in like a year and a half. Like I still like the game, I just wasn't actively playing it, and followed the Henschel Scroll for the last like week or two, and I played like 6 games in the last week because it bit me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The narrative in there it really started picking up on me. It is like watching.
McBain!
Yeah.
McBain!
Come on, airdropped Karchev. Come on.
Yeah.
Airdrop
Airdropped Karchev is freaking amazing.
And as I was telling Travis about this today, but with the current plot line with
Gorshade and Hexeris.
but it's not Gorshade, it's Gear Shield
Shield,
with
yeah.
Gear Shield and Hexeris.
The tag team torture session.
Well, it is straight up Gear Shield is Count Rugen, and Hexeris is Prince Humperdinck, and that is the Pit of Despair from Princess Bride. Because I just see Gear Shield just like with his little notes like, interesting, and we're in the middle of the not to 50 portion of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was once you hear it, you're like, oh
Yeah. From now on, that's just the voice that Gear Shield has in my head is that he's just Count Rugen.
No spoilers at all odds though. But are you privy to what goes up before it goes out?
I could, if I wanted to, probably get access to it, but it's not being run by me or anything. I don't officially have anything to do with War Machine.
Right.
I'm a playtester for it, and of course I help out with whatever I have to do.
Sure.
But
sure.
Monster Apocalypse is my main thing, so I sign off on a lot of Monster Apocalypse stuff and even write a bit of fiction here and there when we need it. But for War Machine or for any of the other games we make, I'm just kind of an observer inside the building.
Oh, cool.
It's namely Getz and Matt Ryan that writes it, and it's
Mike.
Or
Ryan,
Mike,
yeah.
Mike, not Matt Ryan.
As far
Mike.
as Monster
yeah.
Apocalypse, are you responsible for when a card specifically calls out the vacant expression on the ooze's face?
Yes, I write all those details.
Vacant expression. That's an important thing that we need to point
It
out
is.
about that unit. Like all the others is like, here's a weapon, here's its attack, here's the
some
big
of them
thing.
are like the
and just
disco knee pads.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
but those are important
Yeah.
knee pads. But just like, yeah, these guys got a dumb look on their face.
Yeah.
No, it's not a dumb look.
It's vacant.
It's just vacant.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I try when I write those kind of things. I try to allude to a deeper, like real world existence for the things.
Yeah.
And part of the solicitation text, which I also write, mentions how they don't seem to have intelligence and that kind of stuff. So I wanted to write that one has a vagrant expression, whereas the absorber, I think I wrote cunning expression.
Yep.
I think is what the card says.
Yeah, there's two of
So
them.
yeah. So I wanted to compare and contrast those two things, where the absorber's smart and Metaxo's kind of just a zombie.
That's awesome. I would I know how much work Getz and Mike put into doing the Henschuld scrolls, but there's a part of me that would really love that kind of thing for Montauk. Like, I know it's a ton of work, but it's that kind of thing where it can get you into that environment, can get you into that headspace easier.
Yeah, because there's a lot of fluff to be wrung out of there, and so having more breathing room and something like that would be really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're committing to do that then?
I'm making no comments
All right.
of any kind, positive or negative.
I mean, that was like one of the things I really wanted out of the movie that came out with the giant robot.
Robot Jocks.
No. Damn it.
Atlantic Rim from
Yes,
the
Pacific
Asylum.
Rim.
No,
But-
Atlantic Rim from the Asylum.
Yes. But the sequence that happened with the monsters that came and just started invading, and then they ended up dying in like Nevada or something like that. I wanted to have like a audio thing for just that sequence there. I don't care about the robots in that. I want to hear about a giant monster.
Oh, God.
What is happening?
Andy just flailed at he's
Yeah.
being violent.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't
Careful.
break everything, Andy.
No.
Have we got confirmation that people can actually hear me on the
Yes.
on the live feed?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
we did.
good.
Have
Okay.
we?
Yeah, there's a couple
I
years.
know you were
okay.
afraid of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of hearing you, we have tons of questions from people on the Facebooks and possibly some tweeters and whatnot. I'm not sure about those yet. But before we get into those, the floor is yours if you wanted to A, pitch, B, describe the Kickstarter for anyone who doesn't already know, and C, maybe, gift us with some more information.
Okay. Well, anyone who's completely unaware and hasn't gone to Warcaster.com and looked at stuff or watched the Kickstarter video that Tony put together that's pretty awesome. Warcaster is, of course, our brand new game, and it's a sci-fi game, and it shares narrative concepts with the Iron Kingdoms and War Machine and Hordes. It does not share, I don't believe, any mechanical concepts, hardly at all, functioning in the rules. We use Monster Apocalypse dice. We don't have facing on the models, those kind of things. So anybody who's expecting it to be War Machine in space is going to be a little disappointed because we didn't want to make War Machine again. War Machine still exists. It's not ending. Hungerford was talking recently about new Troll Blood and new Legion models that are coming this year. So we didn't want to just do another game that used all the same rules. And we want to do some new and interesting things. We also have kind of been on a kick lately for games that have a sideboard that you play with.
Yeah.
And there's no points. Because Monster Apocalypse and Riot Quest are both, your army consists of a certain number of models, and then you get them on the table through summoning kind of mechanics, that kind of stuff. So this is all kind of a natural evolution of that concept into a tabletop miniatures game that's more free-flowing than Monster Apocalypse and Riot Quest.
Would you say that Warcaster feels like the evolution of Privateer Press game design?
Kind
all
of.
bottled together?
Kind of, but it also does new things that we've never really done before.
Yeah.
It has opposed dice rolls for attack and defense,
Which is
we've
amazing.
never done before.
Yeah.
So there's lots of things that we're trying out new concepts in this game.
Well, and you can see a lot of the DNA from all the different games into it. Because, like you said, it
Yeah.
has the summoning and losing and resummoning from things like Riot Quest and Monster Apocalypse. It has the strike dice from your side games. But it still has, from War Machine, it has the bases, the inches measurement as opposed to grid-based.
Yeah.
So it kind of blends those different aspects of all the games you've had prior.
Yeah. The biggest difference between it and core War Machine is that there's no model on the table that losing ends the game.
Although technically, killing the opposing Warcaster
Yes.
would end the game.
If you somehow assassinate the opposing Warcaster, you have opened up a whole can of worms for yourself.
Yeah.
But you've probably won that game.
Just make sure you're not streaming it.
Yeah.
Saying, like,
Okay.
I
Sounds
kind of want somebody to come up and report that game, like at Gen Con or something. Just come up to the table, bloody. I'd like to report a game. It ended via assassination of the opposing Warcaster.
Can you
So, if you're unclear what we're talking about right now in the audience, you are the Warcaster in this game. So we've taken the role of the person managing the battlefield narratively and the person playing the game, moving the miniatures around, and smashed those two things together. The Warcasters They are in a skyship command deck thing called a rack. They have a whole bunch of troops up there, and they teleport them down to the battlefield and they fight, but they direct it all from off-site through basically magic, although Neo Mechanica isn't exactly magic, because it's Neo Mechanica, and it runs off of Arcanescence, a new material that's never existed in the entire storyline before.
Next time you suggest a convention for someone to come up bloody and report a game, don't do it at one of mine.
But Travis, aren't all of them yours? Aren't you at every convention running every War Machine event?
Yeah.
Mostly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Just think of how many tarps you'll have to bring to events now.
do you realize how many bodies I have to hide?
Well, you know.
You don't have to hide any of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't have to hide those bodies.
You can
cosplay
take credit.
zombies out in the hall.
Like,
Mine pits do more.
The first person to do this at Gen Con will be the most famous Warcaster player ever.
Yeah, please don't do that
No.
at Gen Con.
Yeah, please don't.
Please
We
don't.
would rather not have that kind of thing associated with
Yeah.
the name of the game.
Save that for
They're not.
PAX East.
Okay.
Yeah, don't do that.
Anyway,
Anyway.
murdering your opponent aside.
Yeah, so
No, one of the things I really do like about the game design is just from the mathematics of it is that everything is set up to have diminishing returns. Is that I mean every aspect of it, because I mean I am the epitome of the mid-max gamer, and I look at everything and it's like wow, and it's like there is nothing that you can completely stack up on and overwhelm with, because every feature of the game is built around diminishing returns somewhere.
And it's
I
fun to
really
see
like
other
that.
people like you continue to try that, like on Facebook. Like the number of people who have thought about taking nothing but double shields on the I believe it's the ISR Jack is what
Yeah,
it's called?
Firebrand.
Yeah, the Firebrand.
Iron
It's like
Star,
or double shield, double shield, double shield. It's like no, it's like you guys have learned from things like the Karchev spam and stuff like that. Like that having those diminishing returns really keeps the game healthy by allowing those options, but making it more powerful or more to be flexible and think about these things instead of just slamming 20 copies of one thing into your list.
we were having
Yeah.
a discussion earlier about it. It's like, sure, you can have this jack that's arm 5 or arm 6 or whatever the max arm you can get to. And it doesn't matter, because I'm going to throw the Fury at you, or I'm going to use a weapon that displaces you, and now you're no longer next to that point.
Yeah.
And you're already activated. Have fun.
You can be unkillable nowhere near the scenario.
Yep.
Well
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, and if you haven't played the game yet on a full 4x4 with 15 units, the battlefield, since models can't move very fast in this game, the gates and things are how models really reposition on the table. That if you have a battle happening on one corner of the battlefield, those models are probably not really involved in any fights anywhere else. And maybe if they, like the Duskwolf with a railgun or one of those kind of models that has a long-range weapon, might be able to put some sort of impact on another fight, but they're not just going to cross the board in one turn or two turns and just be where they need to be.
Because
Yeah,
even if they're shooting over there, they're not scoring in that zone.
Yep.
it's really
Yeah.
only the ones, I forget which faction, because my brain is too many rules in my head at one time, but the ones that are plus speed on the jack, it's like, sure, you can get to 9 speed. You're not really doing anything, but you're
Yeah.
at 9
Yeah.
speed. You can run around. Cool.
Running around's fun.
And also I like that the length of the pulse round actually affects what your optimal army is going to look like.
Oh, absolutely.
So I mean,
Yeah.
it's just that there's so many there's so many levels of dynamism with it that you're within one list. How you play that list on the table is going to depend on a ton of different factors. And as I said, from a min-maxer perspective, I love this because there's no solution.
And it's something like when we play War Machine, like say you and I are playing a game,
Yeah.
we could have lists that we've figured out, like even sometimes terrain doesn't matter
Yeah.
for the probability of how that game's going to
Yeah.
play. And by different scenarios, you can kind of math that out a little bit, and you can
Yeah.
plan it out, and tactics can get around
Oh, you
it.
can math it out a lot,
But you
turns
can't
out.
really do that in Warcast.
Yeah.
You can math out the weapons, you can math out the ranges, you can math out that sort of stuff. But there's so much line of sight blocking terrain, and there's so much, like, every game I've watched of Warcaster, you are deploying models on your opponent's edge of the board. That happens at least once during the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost every single time I've watched it, there's a model that gets deployed on their deployments when you're like, this is awesome.
Yeah. The first time somebody figures out, like, hey, I'll take this trooper and go past your army and then put my gate behind you in cover on the
Yeah.
other side of this building, and then a heavy warjack's coming out next turn.
Yep.
This
Yeah.
there isn't, as somebody with one of the we played a playtest game today, and with the rules that are available on the Warcaster.com, and what they're saying, they like that they didn't have a table edge. Like there was the table where they deployed off of, like that was where they started. But by halfway through the first pulse round, it didn't matter. They're walking around the table because their models are everywhere.
It was a giant scrum everywhere on the table. And they were playing a skirmish one, so it's like you're tight, but it's a giant scrum everywhere in the game.
And that was one of our main goals in this game, was to make the entire table live for the game. Because in a lot of games, even War Machine games, you can end up fighting across the center line of the table, and usually sometimes in the middle or one slightly off center, but that's where the fights happen. In Warcaster, the fights can happen anywhere, and the scenario really drives where your models want to be, when they want to be there, and that kind of stuff.
And the objectives, the different scenarios really force different play style. So it's like I believe the secondary ones are the secondary objectives, how you play, like which secondary objective do you take? Are you really good at killing stuff? Are you really good at moving across the table? There's a lot of neat things to do with how you play that tactically are going to be different based off of which faction you play.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool.
I enjoy
Do we
the
want to talk?
on.
Do we want to talk about factions at all before we go into anything else? Just in case anybody's not.
There's 3 currently. There's
there's 3 announced.
Yeah, 3 announced. There's the crazy not evil cultists. There's the kind of rebellion independent people, and then there's the bad guys. Right?
So there's no real bad guys in this setting.
Much like future space capitalists.
Much like the Iron Kingdoms, you can really see the perspective of any of the factions and see how they think they're the good guys.
Yeah, there are people who cheer for Signar. I don't understand it, but they're out there.
So the Iron Star Alliance is the core civilization, all the companies and countries and anything like that that's really stable. And they do tend to be a little bit draconian in their laws and what they want to control and how they want to make sure that everyone stays safe, in their words. And then we have the Marcher Worlds, which is a looser coalition of governments and stuff that are the edge of the galaxy. It's the worlds that are hard to settle because they're either farther out, they're difficult to travel to, their environments might be hostile, that kind of things. And then we have my faction, the best faction.
Well, okay, agreed, because they're the ones I'm down for 2 starters for.
Yeah, the Eternus Continuum is a secretive cult of people who don't want to die ever.
I mean,
they are willing to replace any amount of their body, basically except for their brain, to just keep existing. So,
I mean,
so they have worlds. They have worlds that are their entire worlds that no one else knows like how to get to and stuff. They have secretive planets, but they're also scattered throughout the rest of the galaxy in little cult cells and stuff.
So we know Oz's faction. David, what's your faction?
I am leaning towards Marchers, but I'm not completely set yet.
Nathan?
As I said, it's Continuum.
Yeah.
Andy?
I like them all.
Which
I have a list of, because we have our we have a running
first?
tab because our local, one of our local game stores is doing the 6 of each faction starter retail backer, and so we were kind of doing a head count.
Or Peg?
Pegasus.
Okay.
And let me take a look, because I can even tell you what other people are playing.
So which one are you thinking?
Yeah. Also,
I'm thinking actually, either Marcher or the Iron Star.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Well, currently, so if you go Marcher, you have to fight David, because currently our order has 5 ISA, 5 Marcher. So if David goes that, he's taking the 6th Marcher.
well, I'm taking. I'm all in on one of the.
Oh, well, there you go.
the
Perfect.
battle-
This was your
the battle
bonus
sets from
second one, so you
Kickstarter.
can
Yeah.
run demos or play against your wife.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, this
I-
is my second one.
my Kickstarter. I picked up on I think the second level for most of.
My sad story is when the Kickstarter went live, I was at work. And so the first break I had, I logged on to Kickstarter. There was 1 early bird left, but since I was at work, I wasn't logged in. So in the 30 seconds it took me to log into Kickstarter, somebody else got it.
It wasn't me because
Curse you.
It wasn't me because there were like 6 left when I got mine.
I haven't backed yet.
Yeah, well, that's fine. That means you didn't take my last early bird, but that's all right.
But I'm going to collect everything because that's me.
Yeah.
But I'm doing Continuum right off the bat because, Continuum.
Yeah. Also, I am excited because we already have a dozen people signed up for it, and we have like a ready-made meta in Madison already. So
Ours is not as organized yet in Milwaukee, but we're trying to.
well, you'll
work on
drive over here; it'll be okay.
I like the retailer option there, so that we can actually get people together and actually have it available
Yeah.
for retail. I think that's
Yeah.
that's a great change.
Yeah,
to
we
the
wanted to make
Kickstarter.
sure that we supported retailers so that communities could exist, because a lot of Kickstarted miniatures games don't take into account people actually meeting each other and playing
Yeah.
the game if they're strangers.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we really want to make sure that stores had a reason to get into this and support the game
Yeah. Well,
and give people a place to play and meet.
why
Yeah.
is Andy staring at me?
Because you put your hand up, so he was worried you're going to fiddle with your microphone.
Yeah,
Oh.
you're about to. You're
Yeah,
about to.
Don't do
and I'm-
no, David.
and I'm-
Bad David. But no, along the retailer thing. Yeah, I agree. I really like the retailer pledge being there because it. One concern with companies doing Kickstarters as a form of kind of like pre-order is cutting out that retail thing, which is bad
Yeah.
for the it's bad for the culture. It's bad for the hobby because you need that number one meeting area, and you need those people to exist. And so I like the retail thing. I also like that it kind of cuts out distributors, so it's actually good for retailers that you guys are going through Kickstarter because they can get their stuff straight through you and cut out
Yeah.
that extra middle person.
Because that was
Well-
something that I was talking with Matt about is distributors, like it's so hard right now for distributors to get and contain product for any length of time.
Especially as distributors are going more and more the way of Disney, where there's one of them that is the owner of all of the other ones.
Yeah.
And it's like they order the new product and then they don't get more new product of that. Like once it's 2 months out, they don't get it anymore. And so it's just hard. And it's like stores are like, I want the stuff. And from even what the Kickstarter said, it's like it's sitting in the warehouse. They're ready
Yeah.
to use it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's direct orders. That's pretty much how things are starting to go. I mean, Games Workshop went direct order a while ago, and then Privateer, from what we're seeing from the outside, is slowly going into the direct order.
Well,
Yeah,
And
we
new stuff
have a
up.
whole system where stores can sign up and set up their own
Yep.
retailer accounts and order directly from us at a discount.
Yep. Which is great.
So just in case they can't get things through distributors.
But yeah,
Well,
I think
because
it's
we're kind of, I'm sorry, but we're kind of like in a really good golden age of the hobby of board games and miniatures games and all of those, where there's so much out there. There are literally hundreds of miniatures games, thousands of board games, but it becomes tough for stores and the distributors to know what they need to have on hand. And
Yeah.
and even you as the company doing these things, which is why Kickstarter lets you put your feelers out and see exactly this many people want Kickstarter or want Warcaster right now, so you know
Yeah.
what supply needs to be for demand. By having the direct relationship with the retailer space, they don't need to cross their fingers and know whether they need to stock 3 Mountain Kings or 0 Mountain Kings. Like, that's better for everyone involved. It feels weird because it's different than where things have been. And when people see, like, oh, my local game store doesn't have any War Machine on the shelf, that's a bad sign. No, your local game store has all of War Machine on the shelf because they can have that direct order straight from Privateer Press.
Yeah.
No. I was going to say that. I mean, I think that having the retail support for that and keeping that in the loop is a really big deal because I mean, having the community is honestly the reason all of us play because it would be a lot cheaper to just go to some random video game, but the entire point the entire point for the hobby for most of us is actually dealing with people.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that if you had like a list building app or some sort of companion app for it, you should build in matchmaking and like setting up games and getting actually people to meet and play the game as a core component of that.
Speaking of that, is there something in the future set for Warcaster for like a?
So we're
building
not
app?
talking about any kind of apps for it yet, but
Okay.
it's very similar to Monster Apocalypse in the way that you don't really need as hardcore of a list building system because you don't have all the math to do. When you're playing a skirmish game of Warcaster, you get 8 things. That's the only math you have to do is
it's super
you
easy.
have up to 8 things.
Who remembers trying to figure out what a unit of Bane Knights cost in Mark 1?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's 64 points plus 6
Plus-
per guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, or
6
yeah.
is too easy. When it was like 113 points plus 17 per guy, and it's like, 17 per... What is happening? My brain can't handle this.
Yeah.
It's
it's a very modern aesthetic to just let you take things that are all the same value wise. A lot of games are going that direction, and as long as the balance is there on the back end and the scenarios drive play and stuff like that, because like people have asked, can you field an entire army of just warjacks in this game? Not if you want to score points
Legally,
in some
you can.
scenarios.
legally you can.
The
in
game,
skirmish.
the
In
game
skirmish
doesn't
you
need
can.
to stop you from doing so.
I was shaking my head no in the terms of a 4x4. You cannot.
You're required to
Well,
bring some.
not at the
max-
moment,
Yeah.
because there are only 2 warjacks per faction.
Sure.
So- You
have a
but
max
as
of
there are
4.
more,
You can only have so in a skirmish game you could bring 4 Dusk Wolves and 4 Strike Raptors and play a game. But if the scenario needed anything like squads to score points or whatever, you wouldn't be actually playing the game to win
Right.
as much as you'd be playing the game to stop your opponent from winning, because you could never score.
And you'd have a hard time. Like the skirmish one's okay on that because you can use whatever unit you want to score, but it's
Yeah.
like you're still not using your Furies. They're literally useless.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So again, that's the point. Is like the game doesn't need to make it illegal if it's just wrong to do.
Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like the right thing. And you can never.
That's the thing with the built-in diminishing returns for that was that with the rules of setting up your deck, if you don't have a balanced force, you've got dead draws in your hand.
You've got 6 sets of or 6 cards that are dead draws
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
3
Yeah.
squad and 3 Furies. It's like, congrats, at least half your deck is dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't cycle it that fast because you can't play the cards to cycle it. So it's literally 6 turns of cycle. It's so bad if you do that.
Yeah, so we've designed the game around list building that is diversified. No single list like spamming one kind of thing. If you fill your army with weavers, if someday there are enough different weavers you can take, so if you could take 8 weavers, that shouldn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't you tell me how to live my life.
Like
You
the
could
thing-
activate 2 of them in turn and it'd be fine.
Yeah.
The big
Yeah.
thing that I found right off the bat for people that are looking at getting into the game is playing 2, like, we're going to have 2 starters right off the bat as your field choice because you
Yeah.
really don't have a bunch of other stuff out yet. And so 2
Yeah.
starters gives you 8 units right off the bat, and it's super diversified in how you play it. It feels really good on a skirmish level to play
Yeah.
the 2 battle boxes, and then as you get more stuff, you start mutating and morphing in. What's up?
Andy's brain has flipped the switch.
And he's doing Tai Chi.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's up?
This would be a very weird version of Who's the Boss for this event. Just put everybody on the wheel and then you just spin them.
Oh my God, no, no.
No, well, see, that's one of the confusions we've had. Is there are some people out there that think the weavers are the leaders of your force,
Yeah.
and they're not. You're the leader of your force.
Yeah.
You want to have a couple of weavers, you want to have a couple of squads, you want to have a couple of warjacks, and you want to have a couple of solos, but there's no like, oh, this model I don't need a lot of them, or this is my most important model, and that kind of stuff, because it really just depends on how the flow of the game works out, of what models you're going to need when, and that's the beauty of the system is you can put the model you want in play when you need it.
Yeah. Also, I really like that battle box games actually look interesting.
The skirmish is, in my opinion, skirmish is my preferred play style of this game. The full 4x4 is very interesting. It's a different game. Like, there's almost like these 2 sub games inside of it because the skirmish one, you are on each other really fast. In the 4x4,
Yeah.
you get engagement, but it's not to like turn 3 of the first pulse. In the skirmish one, you're on each other. We saw what Dan killed a model on his first turn.
Top of one, a solo shot a solo. Now it required, he
whole bunch of
devoted
resource.
arc, and he used a card, and he put a lot into it, but it was possible because guns in this game, well, in the skirmish size, you're getting to that like you can shoot almost across the whole table, which is why terrain's a big part of it. Looking at the skirmish thing, there was a lot more terrain than you have in your standard War Machine game, and that was on a smaller table. So per square inch, it was even more so.
You can't
Whole
play War
buildings,
Machine
flashed
terrain.
and correct. You can't just have like 2 forests and a water, and you can't do
not
that.
enough.
But
It's
those-
got to be
Yeah.
a lot more.
Ruin buildings I have there would be perfect for
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, you could
Yeah.
play a massive game on that.
Yeah.
Ruined City really easy. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I
that's
just
one of the
turned that-
things we also want to encourage a lot in this game is that you don't have to build like in War Machine. Most of the battlefields look the same because it's a fantasy world. It's very like Northern European kind of, grasslands and forests and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But we made the 1,000 worlds setting and stuff that Warcaster takes place in so that you can make ice tables and desert tables and lava tables and city fight kind of situations, but also anything else you want to imagine.
You could have a battle in a cave network if you wanted to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Do how you want to do.
Like, I'm going to make a city table, and we are
Sure.
going to play a city fight in this more than War Machine, because War Machine would be fun for it, but it gets clunky.
Yeah,
Like
especially with huge base models existing
Yes.
now and stuff like that.
The
It
game
would just
gets
be
clunky.
really rough to do
and
that.
it's not bad. It's a different type of game than we're used to playing with War Machine. But in Warcaster, that's straight up what it is, and it's totally elegant on it. The rules for all the terrain is not. I'm not going to say simple. It's designed to be usable in a way that you and your opponent decide on the type of terrain.
It's
what this
clear
is,
what it is.
and then that's what it is.
Yeah.
And then you just use it. And so it's that sort of thing where it's like, oh, what's this wall do? What's this other thing do? No, it's this piece of terrain gives this bonus, and this is what it does, and that's all it needs. And so it feels like, to me, the really neat thing about Warcaster that I like on it is the rules feel distilled down to that essence of what it needs to be to play it, and then you as a player and you as two people trying to play the game can really bring your own life to that game. And so it's like there's I forget, Battlefield in a Box or whatever makes like Energon crystals. Like, that's gonna be perfect for this game. Like, Energon, hey, cool, that's my arc. Like, that's my arc in essence that we're gonna go fight over. I'm gonna just put crystal fields on the table, and now you got this really neat different thing for terrain, and it's really cool that you can do that.
yeah.
I was supposed to have an image up at the bottom of the stream the entire time for Warcaster.
And you just remembered.
I just remembered.
Did you put it up there? You
Yeah.
did put it up there.
It's up there right now.
I was thinking to go back topic. The only way you could almost do a Who's the Boss style game for this, but instead of being like this, just the you just been for the leader. You just need. It would almost be more like the build a Warcaster.
You spin a
one
hero.
where you would use, but it would be your list. You would no, you would just say like my army is flip. It looks like I'm
Oh.
playing this game with a Scourge and a Dust Wolf and these two units and these
Frankenstein
things.
type of
Just
this.
like here's your random force, have fun. But that would be a little wacky.
I think a Frankenstein would be best for that.
Yeah.
And Who's the Boss is it's. I've made it work in two different game systems, and
But you could do a Frankenstein where you just say whatever, build a list,
Oh, you
all
just put-
three
you just
factions
put a gate
stuck
up,
together.
you roll the wheel, and you see what comes out.
Yeah. They said it would almost be more like bingo, where you'd have to pull like 6 or 7 balls because it's
Sure.
like, here's your first solo, here's your second solo, here's your first unit or squad rather. Here's your second squad.
That's the thing that's going to trip everyone up.
Unit
It's gonna
versus squad.
take
Yeah.
Unit versus squad is the hardest
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, it's been one of the things I've had to work on quite a bit in my head, is because unit means unit of measurement for your army in this game. It does not mean group of soldiers who fight together.
And
That's a squad.
And War Machine's kind of been out of the norm in that, because when I would get people from other games that would start playing War Machine, they'd point at a solo and say, now this unit is going to do a thing. So now Warcaster's actually kind of switching back to being what other people are already doing.
Oh, I've never actually.
I've heard people use unit just to refer to any individual activating thing, because other games already kind of use that nomenclature. So for oddly enough, for the people who aren't already playing Privateer Press games, it's going to be easier to get used to.
And it's like right now, I can't speak highly enough of it, because it's a lot of fun to play the rules that they've put out
Yeah.
and the games, and just going, oh, let's try this out, see what it's like. It's like you can play that. The game's a ton of fun. You're gonna have a learning curve because every game has that, but it's something that watching the video is going to give you a massive kickstart to your being able to play and seeing how the game is kind of intended to play from Privateer Press's kind of eyes, and then just playing the game and kind of being like, hey, this is what's going on.
Yeah, as I have said, I am really impressed with the elegance of the math behind the rules.
I don't know how anybody can not be excited to just sit down at a table, roll some dice, and murder as many ISA things as possible.
I mean, the nice thing about it too is it is not investing in a 70 model army. It's
Sure.
it's
20 to 30,
much smaller from the initial investment, which I think helps out a lot. I'm sure it's going to grow, but I mean, right now it does. It's
And even if it grows like 2 or 3 things, like 2 or 3
Yeah,
units
yeah.
worth of stuff, like that's not like insanely massive growth that you can't keep up with. It's just
Yeah.
what people want to do. Like you're gonna have the people are like me, where it's like I need 4 of everything because I'm me. And
Well, also
and if
just the
nothing
way
else-
the way the summoning the summoning rules and the activation rules work is that there is an upper limit to how much you can have on the board, or how not just how much you can have on the board, but how much you
How
can
much is worth having,
effectively
yeah.
have on the board.
Yeah. Like those of us who have played Mod and Pock already feel that. It's like, I brought, 17 Scorchers. It's like you're never, obviously not 17, but, I
Yeah.
bought 6 Scorchers. Well, you're only ever going to get 3 of them on the board. Like, you didn't need to bring those other 3. You just, you just cost yourself flexibility in the attempt to spam, but that's not how games work.
I've had one game where all 15 units got onto the table.
Yeah, it's pretty rare
It's hard.
in a big game for that. And if you do get all of it on, more than likely on your opponent's next turn, a couple of things get removed.
Absolutely, and you start tripping over yourself. It's like
Like, literally. You're like,
Yeah.
I need to go there.
Yeah, it's a very interesting part of that, and your deck building for the rack is one of the cool things on this is you got this deck builder as part of the game as well. We're like, what do I want to do? Like, I personally am not a big fan of return or grunt to a unit, but someone is gonna be like, that card's amazing. I put that in my deck every single time.
Right.
That card's amazing, by the way.
I just it
But
doesn't
for Travis,
do
like,
anything
well,
for me.
I'll unsummon the unit
Yes.
and I'll summon it back fresh. But,
Yeah.
it's just different play style.
It's very, very important when you're trying to hold on to an objective.
Yeah.
Oh
and
my God, yeah, that is true.
and only squads can score objectives, but anything can contest. And you've managed to kill everything around an objective, and you have one squad member still standing there, so your opponent just has to kill one model to
Yeah.
take that point away from you, and you're right up against the pulse round. Playing that
card's
card
really
to put a second body back in that squad, so you at least have to take out 2 models, is really, really important.
Yeah,
It's all very
Travis.
situational.
You idiot.
Those cards,
You unbelievable fool.
sure.
But that's one of the great things about the game and the rack itself is that every card is situationally awesome.
Yeah.
But trying to predict which of the 24 cards that come in a starter you're going to need in your 15 card selection, and then hoping they come up at the right time and that kind of stuff,
Like-
it's very, very important.
I've had 4 of my cards in my hand go, remove an activation token on 4 different things. It's like, I guess I'm removing some tokens, but I'm not doing anything else.
Yeah.
Oh, so speaking of that, Oz, can you tell us if there are any plans for card expansions?
So we are not talking about that kind of stuff right now.
Okay.
We have a lot of plans for where this game goes in the future,
Yeah.
but we're focusing really hardcore on the launch right now. And so the starter boxes will give you everything you need: tokens, cards, dice, all that stuff. And those 24 cards are the first Cypher cards you're going to get to play with. And until we say otherwise, that's what the Cypher card deck options are. But every single element of the game, we have a lot more plans for. We're just not talking about them concretely.
I do, just full warning. I think there's going to be a lot of questions similar to that when we get to the
Oh, yeah.
questions on it.
Yeah.
So you can repeat that we're not talking about that right now for several of those future plans, but they're not all like that. And I wanted to call it just one other thing that I just remembered as far as an example of great streamlining of the rules, because it's a simple thing that somehow gets rid of like 12 paragraphs of rules from something like War Machine is squad movement in
Oh, yeah.
Warcaster, where
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about unit coherence, you don't have to worry about all this individual stuff. You pick one guy, you move him, and then the other 2 just teleport to where he is, because that's where the squad is now.
Yeah.
And if the middle
Also-
one's killed, you don't have to worry about, are they out of formation, are they in formation? You're just going to move one of the guys, and then the other one's going to teleport to him.
We also really wanted to focus on keeping the squad small. Now, there's no guarantee that 3 is the maximum size of a squad ever, or that 3 is the minimum size of a squad ever, and those kind of things.
But 12,
But-
probably not.
But small squad sizes, as opposed to having to move 10 models
Yeah.
on the table, was another one of those considerations for keeping the game fast and having the squads do something, but not having them be an overwhelming amount of models on the table.
And the part of that too is like a warjack. Trying to kill a warjack in this game isn't the same as trying to kill a warjack in War Machine.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like you don't have to put the same effort that you do in War Machine to really be like, I need to put this jack and this buff and this thing to one round this warjack. It's like, no, I'm gonna.
Although on
put
the
this-
flip side is, in War Machine, there's something if you don't one round a Warjack. So in this one, jacks are full until they're gone.
Yeah.
Similar to monsters and Monster Apocalypse, although they have obviously the hyper form. But like a monster at 1 hit point is the same as a monster at 5, just like jacks in this. Like if it's not dead, it is fully functional. There's no crippling a weapon. Correct.
Yeah, we wanted to also keep a lot of that bookkeeping and tracking down.
Yeah.
Because it's really all you have to track is your continuous effects, which there's only like 4 of them that you really need to track. And then
Your arc and wounds.
arc, wounds, and activation tokens. It's really simple to track what's going on and which ciphers are out on which models if they last for a pulse round, and tracking the pulse round. It's not like you have way more tracking inside War Machine. Like I think of how hard it is to track, my Infernal army compared to what I have to track inside Warcaster, and it's monstrous.
The tokens you're throwing out for all these things, and here's a buff, here's a debuff, this guy's got
It's
that, this
tons
one's
of
got
difference.
that. Yeah.
Quick question on the tokens: are they just kind of the standard paper ones?
Cardboard.
They're just cardboard.
Okay.
They're just a cardboard token sheet, just like in Monster Apocalypse and Riot Quest.
Okay.
I'm sure
just
that
The
someone's
third
gonna
party
come
or
out
something
with
like
Yeah.
that, maybe. Okay.
Yeah, but to
That'd be
keep the cost of those starters as low as possible, we made them cardboard.
Although one of the stretch goals for the Kickstarter that has already been locked out is for the gate tokens
which is amazing. I love
to
those
be
floodgates.
to be 3D models as opposed to just cardboard tokens. So your
Yeah.
gates, which they're one of the more core things that's definitely going to be on the table. So it's nice for them to have been upgraded.
Yeah,
I'm excited to actually have real gates.
Yeah, that's very
Because
exciting.
if that wasn't part of the Kickstarter, that's one of the first things that I would have been making.
Yeah,
I did see
the sound you
somebody
hear
print
would
up
be
a-
1,000 3D printers.
Yeah, I did see
you don't
somebody
have to
print
do
up
that.
some things on their site.
Yep. Don't need to do that though, because we unlocked them on Kickstarter. Go team.
Oz, I'm going to ask you a question that I don't know an answer to, and I just want your opinion on it.
ooh, ooh.
It came up in our game today. When does an opponent know what's in your rack? Like, do they know the 12 to 15 cards that's in your rack?
As far as I know, that is not public knowledge, but I don't know what the final rules wording is going to be. I'm pretty sure since you don't get to know what is coming from your deck, then your opponent can't know what's in there either.
But your starting deck, like your starting deck. Like you may not remember, you don't know the order, but you could like track what's been played. So your starting deck you do know.
So it'd be interesting. I'm going to ask about it, but that's something I just wanted to see, to pick your noggin on.
That could also be something that if you've heard me talk about Monster Apocalypse at all, I'm a big fan of keeping normal play and competitive play as two completely separate things.
Yep.
And if competitive play goes the direction of your 15 ciphers are on your list and written down and all that kind of stuff, then that could be a difference between competitive play and just standard out of the box play on your kitchen table.
And like we similarly said, it would almost be like the equivalent of Steamroller, where like this is just an aspect of that competitive play.
Yeah.
Because that's I entirely agree with you on that, where it's something that the core rules don't need it. Like, who cares? And if you're playing a casual game, who cares? And then if you're playing a competitive game, sure, you can card count if you want. Have fun with that card counting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, to some people, it would be equivalent of knowing your opponent's spell list in War Machine. Like, knowing that they can crippling grasp your unit is worth knowing, and you'll play around it. And similar, knowing your opponent's rack has an option in it. It might not be in their hand, but it exists. I could see that definitely for, as Oz said, for the people who are choosing to play it more competitively, that might be an aspect that they'll add to the game if it's not core to it.
But when I play a game, I don't even care who wins, let alone what cards you're playing with.
Yeah. I've had where it's like the experience of the game has just been like, man, you destroyed that jack in like one freaking turn. That jack did amazing things, and it's like, yeah, that's really cool. And it's just like you don't really need to win or lose the game to have fun with it.
And different people take different aspects of fun from the same core. So for some people, Oz ain't wrong to feel that way, whereas somebody who definitely wants to card count and know exactly what's coming, they're not wrong for feeling that way. It's good to have the options to play the game how you play and be happy either way. Yeah. Like, I messed up and got annihilated in a game of War Machine against Travis, but I still had fun.
Did you?
I lost my last
Turns out
tournament.
that 2 of his heavies could get to my Prime Axiom. I'm putting my Prime Axiom here because only 1 heavy can get to me. Half of that sentence was wrong.
And I stared at him and I went, I don't know what I can say at this moment.
It's all right.
Nathan, you heard about my games last week, right?
Maybe.
So first game, I've learned that there's a scenario.
Scenarios do exist.
Scenarios do exist.
Hey.
And then my second game,
You learned that there's
I
a
had
scenario.
that beat back into my head that there's a scenario.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm going to jump this tangent right back into Warcaster. That's the only way to play the game.
Yep.
Is to play scenario.
Yeah.
Like there's no attrition.
There's no caster kill.
assassination. It's
Yeah.
you play scenario and you play scenario hard all the time. And there's part of it where it's like I like the difference between permanent and portable objectives. I like that there's some of them that you get to walk around and be like, I'm going to go do this thing. And it's part of the game, and it's like built right in. It's really cool. And the secondary objectives, I think, is a very neat touch for players to be like, I have this goal. I'm going to go do this goal. If my opponent forgets about it, I'm going to score these VPs because it's cool.
Yeah. Well, the other thing to remember about that is we have another stretch goal for more scenarios.
Oh, goodness.
And the scenarios in the preview book are not every single scenario. They are a sample of what kind of scenarios Warcaster will have.
I need to read I haven't read the sample book in a while. I need to read it again. I
Yeah.
forget what's all in it.
It's got the ring of arc geysers. It's got the X of
Yep.
objectives, and it's got the portables to the stationaries, like take your ore to the smelter
Yep.
scenario. I think that's the only 3 non-skirmish scenarios that are in there, and then it only has the one kind of starter skirmish scenario.
And even that starter skirmish scenario is like real good for getting people into the game and showing it off.
Yeah.
Well, we could do. Do you have our Facebook up over there, Andy?
I got
Or-
our Facebook. I don't
Because I posted on the Neo Mechanica group as well,
I don't
so I
have
have
that.
more questions there. Would you like to start, or should I start over here?
I've-
Because we
I've-
can start with some of these questions from the internet, and Oz may or may not be able to answer all of them, but even the ones he can't, or the ones he can, will probably trigger more discussion.
Well,
Yeah.
here's what we'll do here is I'll go ahead and choose the specific Warcaster ones in here off of the our
Yeah, and then
Zephyr
you can come,
Compass.
and then I'll do
And then-
these, and then you
then
can
you-
have the non-Warcaster ones
Yep.
afterwards. Makes perfect sense.
Yep.
Sure.
So
Sure.
Jacob Collins asks, what new demographics is Warcaster designed to appeal to?
Well, we want everybody to like the game.
It's obvious.
But
It's specifically designed for veterinarians between the age of 37 and 39.
But to be more
veterans.
specific, like we knew there would be elements of this game that would appeal to our existing player base, people that were either Monster Apocalypse players or War Machine players or whatever. But we wanted to make sure that it wasn't just another game that they'd already played before, and if there was anybody out there who wasn't one of our players already because of not liking some aspect of one of our games, because it's valid not to like certain mechanics in certain games. Everybody has things that just rub them the wrong way and they don't play. But we wanted to make sure this game could appeal to people that were coming in fresh and never having ever played any of our games before, and they wouldn't have to necessarily know things. Sure. So I think the answer is everybody, but
That was
Zappity.
Travis,
Yeah, Travis,
stop making
yeah.
noise.
that
What
was
are you
my-
doing,
Thank you,
Travis?
Oz.
I
I
can't
was
see
try-
what you're breaking.
I was trying to put
He
a
was
rail
trying to
gun.
put a railgun on top of his
Oh.
microphone, and instead it fell down and made metal noises.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And I had these all nicely symmetrically laid out. It was like an exploded diagram of,
like you'd see
piece
in
of
the
equipment.
no quarters back in the day.
Yeah, like look at that. See, and
Okay,
it's
I'll
all
try.
symmetrical.
I'll try better with a real answer for the next one, unless it's another vague question.
Well, technically these are all like what we would consider like zappity grumbles, so they don't even have to be that
Yeah.
long. But that was actually a really
I
good
think there's a
answer.
couple good ones on here too.
Yeah.
Some
Okay.
of these are terrible. I won't tell the listeners
can-
which ones we did the
yeah.
terrible ones.
Yeah, we're
but,
You can
fine.
ask terrible questions.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
that's unfortunately the podcast you entered is the
As we're-
terrible one.
Yeah. As children, people tell us there are no dumb questions. Yeah, there's some pretty dumb questions. Let's be honest, people.
We hear you talk a lot.
Yeah.
Jim Goff asks if there's any plans for non-human factions because he really wants to see the gobbers.
You know that
Oh.
can be redacted.
Wouldn't you like to know? Is the answer to that question.
Like literally redacted is the answer to that
Yeah.
one.
So
Yeah.
feel free to ask questions about the future, and I will always generally say the same thing.
that's where the
But
squawks
who
come.
knows?
One
Who
out of
knows?
10 you might be able to say. So if you
Maybe.
say redacted 9 times and then answer
Maybe.
one of them, it was worth it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
All right, zappity grumble.
Seriously though, when are the gobbers coming?
Andrew Grove is asking basically the podcast. Have you bought into the Warcaster Neo Mechanica Kickstarter?
I think we all said yes.
Yep. I am already in it.
I shouldn't because I've spent like $400 on Kickstarters this year already, but I couldn't say no to this.
No, you couldn't. The game's
No,
too good.
No.
No, I mean, like I said, even though I have, like, I'm not Travis level here, but I'm pretty...
You're dang close.
I'm pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have so much War Machine. Picking up another... It's a smaller skirmish game as well,
Yep.
so
Yeah.
it's not gonna make my basement any smaller.
Well, it calls back to the previous question about new demographics. Like, even though we're already a demographic that's touched, this aspect of the hobby isn't, represented by War Machine or some of the other games. So it's different enough to tickle our fancy. It's not like, oh, I already play War Machine, so I'll just pass on this because I'm covered. Like,
Correct.
it's not the same
Yeah.
thing.
There's another demographic part of this too, is the painters. Me trying to paint this Weaver is way different than trying to paint
Because of the
a
scale?
War Machine. The scale's nicer because it's bigger, but it's like, how do you paint sci-fi? Like, you don't really
Sure.
get that same sort of thing in War Machine Hordes. You get it a little bit, but it's not the same.
Sure, because it's more of like they're wearing chainmail and capes, and there are horses, and these are things that what they're supposed to,
Yeah.
air quotes, look like.
Yes.
Whereas this is just like, my hair!
I could tell you which faction Travis has painted the least of then.
Which one?
Retribution.
Yeah.
That
Because
is
they're sci-fi.
sure.
They're pretty much
is,
the whole faction is sci-fi. Retribution.
Brett,
And I
Brett
do-
still
and-
feels
and-
different than this.
And Red is the faction that, to me at least, is the most just wide open as far as color schemes too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In no small part because of that. I've seen hot pink Retribution. I've seen black with red highlights. I've seen red with black highlights. I've seen green. I've seen blue. There's the studio standard white, obviously. Like, it's a blank slate because of that versus just like, here's some chainmail. It's gonna be gray, silver, and here's the the tan leather that goes around it.
My Twitch community put purple as my primary color of my marchers.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, that's not a standard color for marchers. They're not purple. The paint scheme on the other one's Biothrall or whatever brownish color it is.
It's a tan color, and I think it's got that Biothrall's in one of our new paints that Jordan showed off on the live stream on Get Your Paint On Thursday.
Super excited about
But
those.
but Jordan was painting his Firebrand teal and black.
Yeah.
So you can do whatever you want.
Yeah,
That's
live how you want to
awesome.
live.
1,000 Worlds.
Yeah, spray paint your army gold and put pirate hats on it like some idiot. Do what you want to do.
Well,
Hey, I have a habit of spray painting things gold and dipping them in glitter.
Dude, I mean, I ordered 100 Bart hats for a reason. Like, I'll do something similar here. I
just
don't know what I'm
order-
going to
no,
do.
The 100, what's the Gators hat?
Oh, long chops?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. All the people now are like, oh, I'll order all these long chops hats. I'm like, you are late to the party. I can show you my press gang order from like a decade ago with an angry letter from whoever had to pack 105 Bart hats into my press gang order. I think I got a couple extra because they lost count.
Of course they did.
Pretty soon they just ended up just tipping the small
Yes.
little bit. And they're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
It was
Kinda
like the
weighing
Patton Oswalt thing. I just said, I want all the Bart hats.
all the hard hats.
I want all the Bart hats. All right, so then I'll switch over. There's a few from the official Neo Mechanica, not official, this is unofficial, but you should follow the official too, but from Neo Mechanica group here. So I'll start. Richie Kramer had several. Looks like I have a couple rules questions, a couple future plans, and a couple personal
Richie Kramer.
questions.
Oh, okay.
So I'll go through them pretty fast. The
Sure.
rules ones are probably whatever. And we have Travis here. So do you ever measure for vertical movement?
Yes.
And it's an inch is an inch, right?
Yeah.
So climbing's
Yeah.
a thing.
Yeah.
Discuss whether ladders exist on that terrain piece with your opponent.
Uh-huh.
Well, and in general, discuss what's climbable and what's not
Yeah.
climbable. So, like, if I've had this come up before, I think War Machine Weekend 2005 or something. We were fighting on a table, and there was a hill, and the sides of the hill were rocks, and there was a grass strip over the middle of the hill. And I was imagining that only the grass strip was passable, and my opponent was not imagining that. When I said, this is a hill and that's passable, I pointed at the grass strip, but he didn't know I pointed at that. So he charges his models at me and puts them on all over the craggly rocks that you could barely balance models on. And I was like, oh, I guess I should have been more specific. And then I lost that game real bad. So you should always discuss with your opponent, but keep in mind, things that you think models can traverse and models can't traverse.
Like deep water or shallow water.
Yeah, I'll tell you my deep water
Yeah.
story sometime, Oz.
Yeah.
If you haven't already.
Yeah, I have on the podcast for sure.
All right, I'm going to take from this chat the most important question here, and this
What?
is from Eric Hansen.
What are you doing?
The most important question here.
I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah, but I want to take this to the top of the heap because this is the most important question there.
Fair
This
enough.
is from Eric Hansen. How did Aurora and Nemo take all of the hills into space?
Huh?
I get it.
I
Because
don't.
there's no hills in War Machine, but you could put hills in this
Yeah.
game, I
No,
guess.
there are still hills in War Machine. They just don't do anything.
Yeah. There's still terrain features.
All right.
Yeah.
All right,
I don't get
go
it.
along.
Ken Reavers, it's somebody who's salty about the fact that hills don't have a rule
Yes.
in War Machine anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Single tier commercial about pollution, etc. Ken Reavers phase into a building and then up through the ceiling onto the roof.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's way more specific
Yeah.
than my weekend brain can handle right
So
now.
we'll go past. Those were all the rules
Can
questions.
I,
so-
can I
Okay.
look?
You can look while I
perfect,
move on.
Perfect.
So here's a couple that you can feel free to say no answer at the time. Although this one maybe is a little more solid. Are the rules for all models in the Kickstarter planned to be revealed before the end of the Kickstarter?
I have no idea about that.
Okay. Are there any plans for weapon packs for the jacks? Like just blisters
That-
that have more of just the weapons?
That's not my job.
Sure.
So there might be plans for that, but I'm not a part of every kind of conversation that ever happens, especially about products and stuff. So that one, just wait on information or ask that one on the comments section of the Kickstarter, because I know I've heard conversations about that kind of thing. I just don't know the answer specifically.
Yeah, because the jacks come with one of each weapon. So if somebody wanted to do a double weapon, they'll if you have two jacks, have one of them have double of a weapon, and the other will have none of that weapon, and your problem solved.
Oz,
Yeah.
I thought you were a part of every conversation at Private
I tend to be part of very many of the conversations,
doesn't
but
mean
not
he
in
listens.
official capacity all the time. And I'm always listening.
I know.
What kind of ratio of new faction versus fleshing out a faction should we expect to see?
That's literally redacted.
Yeah,
That's
well,
a real-
like if
that's
there was
a
a
real
general
deep
plan,
dive.
but yeah, if it's super deep dive versus like, if these are kind of more one and done, like convergent style, or if they're all going to expand incessantly like the core factions did.
Yes, I
Tell
know.
me all the plans.
So
I want
yeah,
to know
that's
them
another one of
all.
those. You will have to wait and see what's coming in the future.
So,
Yes, can we get your roadmap for the next 3 years in PDF format, please?
yeah, and we'll hold you to it.
Yeah, yeah, no
No,
problem.
I want a PowerPoint
So
presentation.
they asked what faction do you like playing best. I know you said that the Continuum was your go-to faction, but are they the one you enjoy playing the most as well?
I
or-
don't have a preference for play style. Generally, when I play a miniatures game, especially when I pick my very first faction, it's visual.
Sure.
It's entirely the models I like the most. Like I was a Crix player for years because Asphyxius. Like as soon as I saw that model previewed on the website back in 2002, I knew that was my model that I was going to play the whole faction of, and I was going to deep dive and play them primarily.
I started
don't
playing War
mind-
Machine because I saw the picture of Terminus. Like
Yeah.
Terminus's art and then the Dire Troll Blitzer art are the things that got me into War Machine and then got me into Hordes.
I like playing all the factions because Marchers tend to be more mobile, and the Iron Star Alliance has some more synergies, and they have a lot more flexibility to a certain extent. Like they often can use their melee attacks and their range attacks on the same turn, that kind of stuff, if they're charged. But visually, trench coats and darkness are just kind of my thing. So I have to play Continuum as my first and primary faction.
Andy, did you start with Crix?
Then,
No.
more specifically, okay, maybe this is easier or harder to
Yeah.
answer, but what's your favorite Jack loadout?
I can't remember all the names of the Continuum Scourge's weapons.
That's my problem.
So,
Yeah.
I don't remember what any of the names are.
so I will tell you that there will be some people out there that argue, min-maxing wise, that you should always spend every single build point.
Nope.
But I've ran a Firebrand with 2 fusion glaives,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
and there's no 1-point shoulder option for it in the starter box.
Yep.
And the fusion blades have the ability to knock out enemy warjacks attacks from melee or ranged. They have the system malfunction continuous effect, and every arc on a Firebrand gives its weapons +1 melee range. So I was playing a playtest game where I was fighting against a heavy and a light on my opponent's team, and I fully charged up a firebrand, and its swords whacked both those guys and knocked out their guns. So that was really awesome.
Awesome.
And that was technically leaving one build point off the Warjack because there was nothing on its shoulder. It was just 2 fusion glaives. But those fusion glaives were like range 4, and you can spike to hit people with that continuous effect. So even if you spike for 1, your second one's still range 3. So I could easily get a position where I could hit both the enemy Warjacks and semi-shut them down. So that's a really fun build. And there's a lot of other stuff like that. Like you can run double flamethrowers on a Dusk Wolf. You can run all kinds of other options.
It's normally easier, like your builds are, if you take a 2-point on your shoulder, you can normally fill the full points on a light. But if you take a 3-point on your shoulder, you're either taking 2 1-pointers or you're taking a 2-pointer.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I really like is you can load out a Warjack with mostly melee, but still put a gun on its shoulder. Mm-hmm. So I've ran Dusk Wolves in playtest with double rippers, and then stuck a rocket pod on its shoulder or whatever. Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of options like that where you're not necessarily making melee Warjacks or ranged Warjacks. You can always kind of dance that border and play a little bit of both.
I think I've done that with double rippers and the railgun.
Yep.
You can just do this really like, hey, I'm gonna go be nasty in melee, and then shoot that solo in the face across the table.
Yep.
So here's a question that also kind of came up in our playtesting today. The thoughts behind giving 3 additional slots in the Cypher deck. So the 12 to 15 range versus like 12 to 18 or just 12 or unlimited maximum cap.
So we played around a lot with the different balance on the Cypher cards, and we eventually settled on you're required to take 3 of each, but we wanted people to have a little bit more freedom, but not a lot more freedom. So if you want, you can take 6 of one type and then 3 of the other 3 types. Or you can use those extra slots to make a couple of your Cypher types a little stronger, like you can focus on overdrives or you can focus on harmonics or whatever. But limitation is what creates fun play generally. And that was the limitation we settled on when we were playtesting, that 15 felt about right, and 3 of each as a minimum was what forced people to take interesting choices.
When I first looked at it, I missed that rule for a little bit, and went, I'm going to take 6 Cyphers and 6 Furies, and that's all I'm taking.
Yeah.
It's real good when you do that. It's not how the rules work.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, turns out when you cheat, things are really good. That's why people cheat.
Yeah. You have to read the rules. It's a funny thing.
Yeah, running around with double daggers, chasing down Dracula, and is pretty good.
Yeah, Fury Dracula. There was a tiebreak number. It was a contested die roll, and then weapons had a tiebreak number for ranking. But the way they were playing is they just added that to their die roll, and so daggers had a tiebreak of 6, and it's a D6 contested roll. So they're rolling like 12s against rifles that are like a 4, and daggers were just take that, Dracula.
Yeah, Fury Dracula was very easy at that point.
Yeah.
Basically, Dracula
just cutting that poor guy to ribbons.
Yeah, Dracula. You find him at midnight, and that's when he's the most powerful. It's like, no, fuck you. I got 2 daggers.
Take it. Skipping some like tactical questions because I think that the community will flesh that out together, and then a couple that we've already answered. I mean, I guess I might as well ask this, but I assume the answer is yes. But I'll let you kind of like placate people. But are you planning the same not invalidating purchases system as War Machine? I.e., you don't plan currently to retire things and make them unplayable?
So it's super early to talk about something like that. But in general, we haven't ever taken a model away from anybody in any game we've ever made.
I'd be hard pressed to see that in this game specifically.
We've done things in War Machine to try and figure out stuff for stores that want to carry a wide variety of Alliance stuff, to kind of have the primary purchases and the secondary ones. And we've kind of phased out a few things like long gunners, and we haven't phased them out of purchasing, but we've kind of
they're not a core unit anymore. Yeah,
we've kind of shifted the game to where long gunners are a more secondary thing, but you can still run them if you want. So I would doubt anytime soon we will ever take a model away from anybody, but it is the real world, and sometimes decisions have to happen, and things have to. sometimes you have to bite down on the worst tasting thing and make a thing happen. But so far,
But right
we've
now, your
gotten away
official
with it.
announcement isn't we plan to negate every purchase exactly
right
6
now,
months after
there's-
it's released.
There's no official announcement.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Nathan, you can no longer play Convergence. It's gone.
It's not going to have like seasons where just stuff's retired on a consistent basis.
Every caster,
Now Riot Quest does have a rotating seasonal format.
Sure.
We just haven't gotten there yet.
because they do it on the
We-
what the hell's he called it, seasons or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be seasons based on Gen Con.
Although that's interesting because even if they're retired in Riot Quest, they're still perfectly legal in War Machine.
Yeah.
and,
So they have
And
a
there will
do
be
a
and there will be
standard format.
different
Yeah,
there will be
there'll
different
you can
formats.
continue to
There'll be
play
standard and
season
limited.
1
Yeah.
even when season 2 is out.
Yeah.
So to that end, every caster and every model that has died in Henchhold Scrolls is dead forever. You can't play that model ever again. Dead, gone.
Okay, I'm okay with that because they haven't confirmed anything with Mad Hammer yet.
Axis is totally dead.
I don't.
Yeah, sure.
He's not he's not in my list pairing right now.
Damonio is totally dead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damiano.
I did play a lot of Damiano in Mark
Yeah.
II. He was my
Axis
go-to. He
totally
was my
got
main
killed.
pirate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Axis-
fine.
I mean, honestly, Axis
Currently, I'm running Morton Ebra as my Convergence caster.
She hasn't shown up yet.
I'm sorry, Axis may be like the most boring non-battle box caster in the game.
That's fine. I'm just letting you know, everyone that's in Henchhold is dead.
Okay.
Not endorsed by Privateer Press at all.
Hey, but the Hingehold scrolls are written by an unreliable narrator.
Yeah,
So
but-
you never know.
Correct.
But that is-
Also, maybe
yeah.
Axis 2.
as an actual, like his soul got
Yeah.
saved by something.
Yeah.
So wait,
don't even.
So wait, does that mean that if Haley 3 is dead, so is Haley 1 and 2 dead as well?
Oh yeah.
Bonus.
Uh-huh.
All right.
And then we'll just buff Haley 2 right off the bat. We're at it.
Yeah, what about 50-foot Haley, though?
And all of
is
the
she alive?
lads.
I don't know if this is a something from the Kickstarter that I missed, so I'm going to ask this question, and maybe I just
Okay.
did something I didn't see. But can you tell us more about how the biodegradable packaging?
I know nothing about that. That is a
It's a
Travis,
Kickstarter thing. So they
we're basically going to replace blisters with
this
a different material.
yeah, this no longer exists. It's gonna be like a cardboard,
Sure.
which
Yeah.
is this doesn't degrade,
Yeah.
or in our conceivable
But that-
period of time.
Sure.
That's what
It's
I
just-
use to hold up my super glue in my...
How many of these do you
Pockets.
have?
Yeah, I believe you can still buy plastic from other people, Andy.
Like I have
I
like
need that specific one.
70 of these in my basement.
Just give me that one.
No, I
give
need
it. That was
the
one of the
Chaos
stretch
Wolf.
You said you don't need it. You have so many.
I need
We're
my
just-
Chaos Wolf.
We're just trying to get rid of single-use plastic to a certain extent because single-use plastic is going to destroy the planet, along with everything else. But we're
We
doing our
just ship them
part.
back to you?
The two
I
things that
honestly
are
you
thought
guys
about
refill
that.
them?
I
The
honestly
two
thought
that's-
things that'll destroy a planet are single-use plastic and infernals.
In my in my defense, I'm no longer working on drone AI for the Defense Department.
Plastic is the infernals of packaging materials.
I
Sure.
will neither confirm nor deny that I am part of that packaging material.
Fair.
Well, Travis, no matter what, that packaging material is part of you.
Damn it.
Everyone has plastic in their blood.
Damn
Yeah.
it.
When the idea of this game was mentioned, what was the initial reaction from the team?
Oh, that's a
Us?
cool one.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
like when
well-
this came up at the office, somebody's like, hey, what about 5,000 years in the future after people escape through a portal and then we play a skirmish game with this mechanic and blah, blah, blah? Like, tell us about the team's reaction.
The weird thing about that is we've literally been talking about this game for years, but not this specific game. We've been talking about the next game, and if it was a sci-fi game, and all those kind of things. And we've had conversations about if the name of it was this or that or whatever, and what the core concepts would be. And that has been an evolving conversation for a couple of years. It's just more in the recent past that it's turned into 5,000 years after the current Iron Kingdoms and a different galaxy and super sci-fi and all that kind of stuff.
And like even mechanics, like I don't think I would say not last year Gen Con or even last year Lock and Load, but like pre last year's Lock and Load, I highly doubt that there was a mechanic for like this is how the system's going to play. Probably didn't even exist.
Sure.
And it's like that isn't an evolution, that's a growth.
But I have been all on board for us making a real sci-fi miniatures game since I started in 2011. And I love Monster Apocalypse dice. They're my favorite kind of system of just, I mean, I used them in Omega Protocol when we weren't even publishing anything using them at the time. So, like, they're my go-to kind of simple math dice. So yeah, I've always been on board with the game, and then we've discussed different elements of it that have evolved in different kinds of ways, and we're here right now.
Along the line of the Monpok dice, I do want to make one request if it's not too late for Warcaster. So
Probably is.
no, I believe in you, Oz.
Okay.
I need the blue boost dice to be in it somewhere so I can continue to refer to them as Bloost dice to enrage Travis.
No, they're gone forever.
Bloost dice, Travis.
Boost.
Never say never, but there are currently
Boost.
there's currently nothing public about blue dice ever appearing in Warcaster.
Could there
Bloost
possibly
dice.
be some mispacks with some blue dice in there?
Boost.
Bloost, Travis, because they're blue and they boost. It's Bloost.
Boost.
Bloost.
Action. Boost. Power.
Bloost.
Can I get a picture
sure.
of you just like pulling your hair out, and then we'll take that and put that on a T-shirt and said "Bloost."
Oh my God, you'd make millions.
So just a few
Yeah.
more, and then we can go to the non-Warcaster specific random Zappy Grumble
the real
questions.
Zappy Grumbles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are all the shoulder weapons set up to be magnetized for both shoulders on the heavies?
No.
They're shoulder specific, or they're not
the-
symmetrical
the-
like the
Travis,
hand
you
weapons
don't-
are?
You don't have a heavy.
Not a heavy.
Yeah,
Is it lighter or heavy, or are they just
This said heavy, but I mean, if you
said
have
heavies.
a light in your hands,
So the real question is, there even the Scourge has two shoulder mounts,
Yep.
because the Scourge has a fixed arm and then an arm mount and two shoulder mounts. I don't know what the engineering on every single piece is, but if you look at the Firebrand, the 3D rotation that is on the Kickstarter page, it's got a rifle bayonet on both arms, and that rifle bayonet's point contact is the disc on the back side. There's an inset in the arm, and there's a disc on both sides that plugs into that inset, so you can mount those asymmetrically any way you want. So I would guess that the weapons are going to have mounting options for either side, because that's what we've done so far. But I don't know. I'm not in that department. I can't promise 100%
Fair.
that they're all going to be engineered that way. But we are engineering things to be magnetized and be interchangeable and stuff like that.
I would argue that for like the Dusk Wolf that I have in my hand, you can only put the shoulder. You could make it work on the left shoulder. I'm sorry, I was talking to the side. My apologies. You could make it work on its left shoulder,
but it's not
but
designed.
it's not designed to
specifically, yeah.
sit on there.
Well,
it fits
yeah, the Dusk Wolf-
perfectly.
The Dusk Wolf only has a mount on its right shoulder.
Yeah,
Right. Whereas if the heavies
But
actually do have
The,
two mounts,
the Strike Raptor will have two mounts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
so it might vary from jack to jack.
but like if they're expecting like I want my Dusk Wolf to have a gun on the right arm and the gun on the left arm. That's like a gun on the right arm shoulder, and then this other Jack has a gun on its left shoulder instead. I don't
Like
you-
for aesthetic purposes.
Yeah, you'd have to modify the model to do that.
Yeah.
This one's already been answered, so I think this one's already been answered as well, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I like the way it's asked, and then we just have two more after that because we talked about when our non-human faction's coming. Mike Carey would like to know, where is the goddamned robot faction? So, same question, but I wanted to get it out there because I like his wording. Does the ISA Morningstar run on Arc or the salty tiers of players facing the double shield, double null variant? Everyone's all about the double shield on these guys, and
not
as
the
you said,
greatest
like
thing in the world.
you're just gonna slam them 6 inches back, and then they
Yes.
can enjoy not being in the game.
Yeah, every single time.
And I think people will learn that. Like it's so fresh, it's so young. People latch onto that, and it's the mindset from previous miniatures games, including War Machine, of like, what happens if I put 30 of the same unit in? What happens?
Just
And,
theory
yeah.
crafting
Yeah.
is the thing. Is most of the time you'll answer everything that you're wondering about by playing the game.
Yeah, I always specifically encourage people to never make judgments based on theory, to play games, because I get this a lot in Monster Apocalypse. People are like, well, this monster it doesn't do anything. And then 2 weeks later, they're like, I played it, and it's awesome, and I love it. So you cannot, no matter how smart you are, imagine every circumstance or situation that might occur during a game and what your resources will be. Often it's very frustrating from our perspective to read some comments on the internet when people say like, oh, this model always beats that model, because most of those arguments in War Machine especially don't take your opponent into account, as actually in their army, the setup of the terrain, the scenario you're playing.
Right.
So blanket statements of this model's not good are just never accurate because every model has a use. Some of them might be more edge case, but everything is useful, and finding creative purposes to use things that people aren't expecting often wins you games. You can ask top players that play models that people don't expect, and they will tell you how they win games with them. So
You can bring up Carnotrons later.
Yeah. Carnotrons, good stuff. So last war.
have you played Carnotrons with Mecha Maxim yet?
Not with Mecha Maxim, no.
Okay.
Because my test game with Carnotrons was prior to Mecha Maxim.
Yeah.
It was with Mecha, the first Mecha to come out, Ghidorah.
Gorgatron.
Yes, but no. Early, it wasn't Gorgatron.
It was Terracon.
It was
Cyber?
It was Cyber
Cybercon?
Terracon. It was Cybercon.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Mecha Maxim does a bit more for units than either of those other monsters.
Good.
Because of the Mastermind ability.
Last Warcaster question.
I derailed Nathan so hard with that.
I mean, my counterpoint is he'll do more for units that are better than Carnotrons. but I don't want to
I'm
start
sorry,
a fight with them.
stop.
Travis, you started this fight. I
did.
love Oz too much to do this. You're trying to break us up. Last Warcaster question before we go to random Zappy Groobles. I'll rephrase it, but as far as measuring models that are different vertical heights, is it a two-dimensional measurement, or are we measuring with the tape measure at an angle? Do you recall, Travis, or do you,
I would have
Oz?
to look in the rules.
Like if something's 9 inches away but 2 inches up, is it 9 inches away, or is it like 10 inches away because that's how a diagonal would work?
So I believe that you measure things, the real distance between models. So that would incorporate an angle if you were measuring something on top of a building versus something that wasn't.
When measuring distances, measure from the closest point from one location to another. So closest point to closest point would be diagonal.
Including three-dimensionally speaking. Yep,
There's
perfect.
nothing that
Yeah.
talks about this. It says when measuring distances from or to a model, measure from the closest point of the model's base. Yeah, so it's
Yep, it's
closest
real
base
world
to closest base.
Tape measure
Yeah.
from base to base, including vertical. It isn't just,
Yeah.
they are 9 inches apart and separately one has 2 inches of elevation. It's a literal direct diagonal measurement. Perfect.
Yep.
Question answered.
That I don't see anything in the rules that state anything outside of that.
Well, then we're ready for random chaotic Zappy Grumbles. Just to, as the guest, would you rather answer these first or last?
Or not at all.
What's my other option?
I mean,
Not at all.
You could answer
when it's
after
your turn
Nathan.
to answer, you're welcome. I mean, yeah.
You can just
could do it-
pass.
You could do it.
Oh, you mean you guys are going to go around the table and
There'll be
everybody
a
answer?
question, and we'll go around the table, and you can be first or last.
Or in the middle.
Or in the
I
middle.
will
Where
go,
would you like to do it?
I will go first.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, they're not all like quick answers either. Like the first one here is,
And you're allowed to not answer specific
Yeah.
questions.
These-
If you can
sure.
abstain.
They're technically supposed
Sure.
to be more lightning round, and that's what.
It's meant for.
But most people just post like.
You
9
can give a
topics.
short answer to any question.
I can't give a short answer to any question. I'm not capable.
Oz and I have attested we will be up till 2 a.m. every night at Gen Con because that's Oz and my...
Hey, 4 a.m. if we're lucky.
Oh, God, we've done 4 a.m. It's amazing. And then get up in 2 hours. of work.
Zappity.
All right, Grumble.
Okay.
What is the best model conversion you have seen, and what is the best that you have done yourself?
Best model conversion I have ever seen. I can't remember. I'm sure there's a model conversion I have thought was amazing, but I don't know what it is off the top of my head.
What about what's the one that you've done?
Done myself. You know the old. I think McFarlane Toys put them out. They were Hellraiser action figures.
Yeah.
Sure.
And they were like a deep dive. There was like one that was like a giant fat guy on a weird surgical table with like worms coming out of his guts and stuff. One of those was full of a bunch of hooks, giant hooked claw things, and I cut all the fingers off of a Slayer and put those on instead.
Ooh.
And so the Slayer had these asymmetrical giant plastic bloody hook claw fingers. And
Nice.
yeah, it was like a Scything Touch conversion in like 2004 War Machine.
That's pretty cool.
Which one have you seen?
Which ones have I seen?
That you like?
I've seen a lot of conversions. I'm not too many to.
What's your favorite?
Cool, because I have two.
My favorite conversion, though, the one that I've done, is my dire troll. I have a Earthborn dire troll that is standing upright.
Oh,
that
yeah,
one is
yeah,
very neat,
pointing.
yeah.
That is a
Pointing
real good
around.
mod,
That
yeah.
one's a very neat one.
Oh, I know my answer.
Yeah.
Charles Foster III has a Tron Retribution army.
Yes.
Have you seen his Rinsler?
That one's amazing.
He has double
Gareth won.
pistol.
Gareth
yeah,
won.
Gareth won, but he's got Tron discs in
Yep.
his hands,
Yeah.
and he had a friend sculpt a Tron helmet on him, and he
It's-
painted him all right.
it's very
Rinsler.
cool, yeah.
It's really amazing.
Wait, Rinsler's Tron? Spoilers? God.
I didn't say that. I never said that.
Oh, my
He
goodness.
said from Tron.
That's true.
I said from Tron.
People do forget that Tron's the main character of Tron. Like, even
Yeah.
the movie forgets
And-
that Tron's the main character
and he's
of
also
Tron.
one of the main characters from Tron 2.
Walgreens is selling 2 Tron action figures. I know because I went there and I bought one of them. But neither of the Tron action figures is Tron.
I'm disappointed.
Sorry,
Okay.
Travis.
My favorite conversion is probably the one that I got the most grief from Hungerford about, which was Chris Green's Mountain Kraken or Kraken King. Take your pick. It was a Mountain
it's
King.
a Mountain King with a kraken on its back.
Merged. It wasn't just on
Yeah.
its back; it was merged. Like it was
Yeah.
combined together, and like this intricate, really neat looking model that was both a Kraken and a Mountain King. It was really neat. I don't really convert, so I guess my coolest conversion would have been me making the Phoenix have a double-handed grip on the sword.
Which is a great conversion that I support. But
Yeah.
you made a Darkwing Duck Gorman DeWolf as a gift for me.
I don't think I convert. I think I just painted that. Or did I do
Oh,
the face different?
I think you squished his mask.
I might have had
down.
someone else do
Yeah,
that. for
whatever.
me, but
Fine.
Yes.
I'm trying to think.
But yeah, the
for
Darkwing Duck
presents.
was one that I did. I painted that conversion
Yeah.
for you. But yeah, I think just like the Phoenix doing the 2-arm thing
Yeah.
is like that Jack looks really cool with holding the sword
Yeah.
in a kendo
And
stance.
it's a relatively easy conversion
It's-
too. I do
it's not
recommend people do
difficult.
that to their
Yeah.
Phoenix. I'll throw out 2. There's the Protectorate Battle Engine. They turned it to the Hot Rod of Menoth because they put it down and then added wheels, which was great.
Sure.
And a similar mod is somebody took the Retribution, the first battle engine, and my brain keeps going TEP, but that's a convergence one. The
Made it into an
Arcantric
AT-AT?
Force Generator.
yeah, yes, the AFG, they made it bipedal.
Sure.
By taking
Yeah.
those big
ATST.
waves
I've
and putting them,
seen
yeah,
that
so the
one.
ATST style. And then my favorite conversion, there's the 100 Bart hats, but the one I haven't done yet because I'm scared because it's going to require some good like surgical saw because it's not a straight cut. But I have a Rinny and a Reinhold, and I'm going to head swap them so that we have the human lady body with a Reinhold head, and then a Reinhold with the human lady head, and I don't know which one of those is going to be more disturbing.
Can they both be the answer?
I mean, they're probably both going to be the answer, but I'm excited to see what those two things look like with each other's heads.
Are you going to paint?
It's
the
going to be
skin
like
tones
from Mars
anatomic-
Attacks when they put Sarah Jessica Parker's head on her dog.
But are you actually going to
Yeah.
paint the skin tones like the Rinny with the flesh skin tones and the Gobber head?
I'll probably make her whole thing, including the Reinhold head, be flesh tone, and the whole Gobber, including the human head, be Gobber flesh tone. So it's not like their heads were swapped surgically. They've always had those
This would
heads.
just be a scorn.
Yes.
Okay.
I approve of this entirely. 100%.
And you're pretty good with
Flesh
surgical
tones
sauce, right?
everywhere.
Yeah,
so-
I'll bring them. I'll let Andy try to cut a head off for me.
Yeah, so I think
Out of context.
my
sorry.
favorite conversion of all time is going to be a 40K one where somebody took a to represent an orc battle wagon, called it a looted Carnifex, where they had a bunch of orcs riding on the back of a Carnifex, and
That would be cool.
And the orc up front had reins on it and was had a goblin on a fishing pole dangled in
Like
front of the
carrot.
Yeah,
That's
dangled
cool.
in front of the Carnifex.
What about the pain givers on stilts? That was the
That was no, it wasn't the Painkillers. It was the Titans, the little agonizers.
Yeah,
agonizers. That depends.
For
The
the
agonizer
mammoth.
on stilts for the mammoth, and they
Yeah.
just had like boxing gloves on sticks.
To that point, didn't you do Brian's Lion King
Oh,
mammoth?
yeah.
Yeah, I was going
yeah.
to say for War Machine, my favorite were the Lion King mammoth.
Yeah. Who did that go to? Who bought that?
Oh, I don't
Because
know.
Brian sold his scorn.
I have no idea.
There was also the person who did an orc stompa made out of a Mr. Potato Head. And it is the most beautiful thing you will ever see in your life. Just Bing orc stompa Mr. Potato Head, and it is absolutely
Why
astounding.
do you support Bing?
What?
What influence do they have on you?
So quickly to go over the David's thing that we was talking about is the Lion King version of the
Pride
of
Rock.
the mammoth.
Mammoth.
Is I built Pride Rock and I put a mammoth onto it, and in between his two tusks, I have an agonizer that's just
I'm
hanging
king
there.
of the worlding.
Yeah.
Well, even without the agonizer, it was great because then the mammoth could actually get base to base with things. It's on a 45-degree angle, so it's above stuff.
Yep.
I have a second answer.
Yeah.
My other favorite conversion I've ever personally done is most of my scrap thralls have parts from other War Machine models on them.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I did an insider a couple years ago with Irisk's hat, just like on the side of a scrap thrall head, and then his weapon hand is also on its arm, so it's Irisk, but it's just his hat and his weapon
So now,
somehow having survived.
so now I want to take 60 Mechanothralls and make them different Warcasters from each faction.
Oh yeah,
Several Adepticons ago, it's incredibly windy outside, and my Midas fell off my tray
Yeah.
and broke, and I found everything except for the head of the spine he's holding.
Yep.
So my plan was to Lemons into Lemonade is magnetize it and get a Warpwolf head, a Dire Troll head,
that would be
and
cool.
just like whoever I'm playing against,
The
I got one of
faction
your
head,
beasts.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Zappity.
That's
That's
should
been
do
a
that.
long-
That's
yeah.
a cool thing.
Yeah, I am going to say that the best thing about 40K is orc players.
Yes.
Yeah.
Didn't I say orcs? Not orcs, orc players.
Yes.
They really get into it. I love orcs too. Andy and I talked about this recently.
fucking
Orcs are such a
amazing.
unique concept that like to be spores instead of like they took a standard fantasy thing. Because this, I believe, last year somebody was talking about subversion of a fantasy trope in a piece of fiction, and Retribution's a great example from War Machine because that's not your Legolas style elves, but the orcs in 40K aren't orcs. They're these
yeah.
weird
Yeah.
Cockney fungus magicians. Like none of it makes sense.
See, when you're explaining the Carnifex them riding it, I'm like, they're not riding a live Carnifex. They hollowed out a Carnifex and made it move because they thought it could move.
Yeah.
That's like,
yeah.
yeah, that's what I went to in my brain was I get what you were doing. Like they
Yeah.
took a live Carnifex and they're riding it around, but like they hollowed out a Carnifex and driving it around like a car.
They're both believable.
Well,
yes.
Like the age of Speed Freaks was literally wasn't it that or Gorka Morka where you could carry as many boys as you wanted as long as they fit on the truck and didn't fall out if
Yeah,
you moved it.
barrel monkeys.
Yeah. That's pretty much
Zappity.
Zappity,
Grumble.
Crumble.
Chad asked a question of other people in chat, but nobody answered them. So the what was the question to the non-human faction?
What was the
question,
answer?
or what was the answer? And the answer was
Redacted.
Redacted.
no. The answer is wouldn't
You like to know? Yeah, that is true. The answer is
Yeah.
wouldn't you like
But
to know?
that
Oh.
redacted can contain that inside redacted.
But it wasn't redacted.
I know.
No, I didn't redact it.
I redacted.
I gave an answer.
Andy could redact it later and make you wrong.
Yeah, I could. I could bleep over everything that you say, Travis. Every
would-
time you speak into the mic, it'd just be one long beep.
No. If
Just
you
make
put
it say
a thing on the
Bluest.
screen that says redacted, I would hate.
Every time your mouth moves, it just goes bluest.
I would never come on this podcast.
Warm hordes
Oh,
bluest.
is that a promise?
Yes, that is a promise.
Zappity.
Crumble. What is the weirdest thing you've seen from other states? You've seen? Oh my God, words.
Wow.
What is the weirdest thing you've seen people from other states do?
Okay. So I've lived in a number of other states. So I guess that this person means someplace I haven't lived.
Sure.
Yeah, basically them foreigners from other states.
I've seen people from Illinois choose to live in Illinois, and that's a weird thing
Yeah.
to do. Does
Yeah.
that count?
Sure.
Isn't it
Yeah,
like
I
a
don't
Pennsylvania
really-
thing to put cheese on your apple pie? That's wrong.
Wait, what?
Pennsylvania and New York.
People put cheese on their apple pie, like
Ah.
a slice of cheddar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just
I'm
melts
not.
on
I'm
in.
not. I don't think I'm judgy enough to answer that question.
Yeah, I'm judgy enough putting cheese on apple pie. That's just wrong.
And we're Wisconsin. We like cheese on everything, and I still don't get the cheese on your apple pie thing.
We deep fry cheese.
Yeah.
One of the best things I've ever seen someone from another state do is when I went to New York for Toy Fair a couple years ago, and and at this point it's probably 10 years ago. I was aware of poutine, but I had never been north enough to really have any. And I think as part of the entire Freedom Fries movement in New York, someone can correct me, someone can fact check me, but in my mind, in my own imagination, this is what happened. Someone decided we couldn't call them French fries because of the French not supporting
yeah.
us, so they called them Freedom Fries. So in New York, on every menu I saw while I was there was a thing called disco fries, which is just poutine. But it's disco. But in New York, they call them disco fries. And I had disco fries at a couple of places because I love cheese, even though it hates me. And I will always try any kind of cheese on something. But at the airport, they use brown gravy and nacho cheese.
The nacho cheese seems really wrong. Like the brown gravy, like poutine, I think normally does have brown gravy on it.
Yeah.
Sure, but like
Nacho
it's like greasy airport brown gravy.
Yeah, well, no, that's
and nacho cheese. So it's just like heartburn, heartburn. But it was pretty amazing. I did not regret it at all.
Was that at least before you took off or after you landed?
It was when I got to the airport in New York. I can't remember which airport I was leaving from. And I had like an hour before my flight, and I was wandering around, and I saw disco fries on the menu, and I asked a question, and they said nacho cheese, and we were done. Sold.
Push the chips all in.
I think Zappity on that one.
Yeah. So if Nathan loathes ketchup so much, what do you use in meatloaf?
Point of order, I said ketchup's the worst condiment. It's
Sure.
fine as an ingredient. As long as it's not overpowering. That's its issue as a condiment, is all you can taste is the ketchup.
If I consume all my fries with ketchup, would I consider that I would consider that an ingredient.
Well, you'd be wrong.
Well, as a topping.
Wait, no.
By
You can't be wrong about that.
By Nathan definition, is a topping on a burger a condiment or an ingredient?
It's a topping I'd consider a condiment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait,
An ingredient is something added during the cooking process.
Yes.
Obviously.
So assembly is not cooking. Assembly doesn't count.
Assembly.
So is a hamburger...
Putting mustard onto your burger is not part of cooking that burger. That is adding a topping or condiment.
Any layman can put a burger together.
So a
Right,
bun
yeah,
is a
but that's
condiment.
part of the preparation of the dish.
It's not an ingredient. A bun's definitely not an ingredient. There are toppings, there are buns, there are condiments. Those are all different things, but none of them are ingredients.
I would like to know what a bun is. I want you to define what
This is. I'm just
thing.
going. I'm just going to remind Nathan that in New York, a burrito is legally a sandwich.
Yeah, that's fine. It has its bread container, whatever. But
Travis, the bun is the handle.
yeah. It's the edible storage and delivery container.
You broke me, Oz. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
So I have my favorite meatloaf story ever. So
about the singer?
My mother, when we were children, accidentally bought pizza sauce instead of tomato paste, and she made meatloaf once with pizza sauce, and she didn't know she bought it, and we all ate it, and we were like, this tastes like pizza. So you can substitute any other tomato-based project in your meatloaf to make a meatloaf.
Like Bloody
And
Mary
I would
meatloaf.
suggest pizza sauce every time.
Yeah, that sounds like an upgrade.
Pizza-flavored meatloaf
I'm not
is
a
amazing.
meatloaf fan, but that definitely sounds like an upgrade over the standard
sounds-
recipe.
Yeah,
It sounds actually really good.
Yeah.
yeah.
Marinara?
Not too much though, because my tummy don't like.
Zappity, Grandma.
There's my answer on ketchup.
It's okay as an ingredient, and I was wrong about my ingredient.
Yeah.
You're
All right.
not wrong.
Those are my
Andy.
double questions.
No, I was wrong. Nathan held a very very good argument that it swayed me pretty much immediately.
You folded like a wet noodle.
Yeah. Okay. Do you believe the impending pandemic will affect the turnout at Adepticon?
Nah.
Well,
Yeah, I'm
they
sh-
canceled Emerald City Comic Con a couple
Yeah.
days
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
They've said it's officially moved to the summer, but they haven't announced a date yet.
Yeah.
Now, also Seattle is kind of the hot spot for
right now.
the whole COVID-19 thing right now.
Yep.
Being
Yeah,
a port
so-
city.
Yeah, Andy,
We
why
are
did you
freaking out
invite
so
somebody to the
much.
podcast that's from the coronavirus capital?
Oh, shit.
Are you trying to get us all killed?
Here, let me
Yeah.
turn off the TV so we don't catch it.
Well, yeah, you've heard of computer viruses. They come through. That's what they mean, right?
So I would doubt it's going to severely affect Adepticon just because it's so far from the breakout points. But I think a few people will be scared.
Yeah.
And you could bring it.
Yeah.
We
I
have
mean, I
patient zero.
could.
We have patient
I can get
zeros.
some for you.
I do like as soon as you brought up coronavirus, I instinctively just started touching my face.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Like, I couldn't-
I have a hard time not touching my face. It's a problem.
I have a hard
But
time
I have
not
been
touching your
washing
face,
my
too.
hands as
My-
much as possible.
My favorite.
Constantly.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say my favorite thing I've seen recently is the meme with the gal that's giving all the instructions on now what to do with the coronavirus, and then immediately puts her hand
licks the
to her
page.
tongue,
Yeah.
and then it immediately cuts to Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Because she's trying to move the page. Yeah.
My favorite coronavirus thing I have seen so far is someone took a cartoon infographic
Yeah.
of how to wash your hands, and they put the "Fears the Mind Killer" text
Yeah.
on it.
Yep.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we do actually have some cases. There's a couple cases in Wisconsin. There's some in Chicago as well. But I mean, it's
Yeah.
I think we actually had the first confirmed case in the U.S. here.
You don't need 7,000 rolls of toilet paper.
Correct.
Like calm down. Wash your hands. Don't make out with anyone who's actively coughing. Don't lick subway handles. Like you'll be fine.
But are you really living if you don't do either of those
but
things?
you can lick your Subway sandwich artist.
You can lick
them.
your Subway sandwich artist
Yeah.
if they consent to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
only
oh
with
yes,
consent.
only consent. Yes.
I am not giving you permission to lick random Subway sandwich artists.
Wait, so you're giving permission for people to non-consensually lick other people?
No, I'm giving permission for you to
To
ask
seek out-
whoever you want
seek out
whether they
consent.
give consent
Yeah.
For you to lick them.
for you to lick them.
Yeah.
I think
Sa-
it is
Subway-
fine for you to seek consensual Subway sandwich artist licking. Don't be shy. Ask that Subway sandwich artist,
I mean, the nice
and then
thing,
explain to the nice officer that.
you got permission.
Make sure you have it on camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it's only a couple weeks away here for Adepticon. It is getting closer into the spring area, and that's usually when I'm not talking as in I know anything about the
Just drink
coronavirus.
Malort, and it'll kill all the viruses in your mouth.
But like flu,
no.
it's from my understanding, it's very similar to like flu, and flu has a harder time traveling in warmer weather.
Can Malort be my new answer for the weirdest thing that somebody from another state did?
Sure. It can also
Okay,
be your
I'm
answer
gonna
for
go
all of
with
your
Malort.
friends.
Yeah.
Oz, did you see the email I sent you?
When did you
Wait,
send it?
narrow it
It's about
down.
Malort. I sent
I
it
mean,
this
I
weekend
have
about
seen
Malort.
emails you have sent me, Travis.
Were they
It's about
Malort?
Malort. It's about
I
Malort.
might not acknowledge I ever saw a Malort email, though.
All right.
Ever.
I sent you a Malort email.
But yeah, to answer the question, I am sure turnout will be down at Adepticon because of it. I don't know that it will be a lot.
Who knows how much
A
it is.
measurable amount. Yeah, like
Yeah.
at least one person will stay home out of fear. So
They-
technically, yes, attendance will be affected. But
They've opened the cart up longer for refunds due to it. So, and the hotel's
Yeah.
taking a bunch of precautions on it.
it's not going to be
Adepticon staff
canceled. It's
is
not going to be
correct.
down 50%. It's,
Yeah, they had sent off like a
email.
gigantic
Yep.
checklist that they're going to be doing to help
yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
people cleaning
Don't
things.
be
left and right.
offended if I don't shake your hand if you meet me at Adepticon.
Yeah.
I don't think there should be really any handshaking.
I'm normally a hugger.
Should
I
all be
might have to
consensual
not
licking.
do that.
Yeah.
Sure. All right.
I'm always a hugger, but yeah, I might have to change it.
I guess we've answered this real well.
Yep, Zebedee.
Grumble.
What is your favorite dessert?
Every single one of my favorite desserts involves ice cream.
Okay, so cheesecake and ice cream would work?
No.
Oh.
No.
Because he's then saying is, why are you wrong? Because it should be cheesecake.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Well,
not a big
him.
fan of cheesecake. I
No.
will eat
Cheesecake.
I will eat anything with sugar in it because I have a problem, but I prefer ice cream even though it hates me.
Yeah.
And I will say, I prefer and this isn't some weird like nationalistic thing. It's legitimately because of the differences in consistency. I prefer American ice cream over gelato. I think gelato is way oversold.
I agree with that.
I think, yeah.
I am a big fan of strawberry ice cream and strawberry shakes, as pointed out by me getting sick at Warfare Weekend for drinking 2 large strawberry
It's
shakes.
Shamrock Shake season.
No, shamrock shakes are disgusting. It's strawberry shakes all
You
day.
are wrong. Mints are great.
You're wrong. You are wrong.
My top 3 desserts are pineapple upside down cake, key lime pie, and cherry cheesecake.
Right. My favorite dessert and the best dessert is Bananas Foster.
I don't know what that is.
It's alcohol and bananas set on fire.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's usually over ice
It's like
cream.
brown
too.
sugar and you pour it over ice cream.
And
It's
lots
pretty
of cinnamon.
good. Yeah, lots. It's
Lots
good
of
stuff.
cinnamon
My-
and rum and bananas and ice cream. It's good.
My favorite dessert is you can get it at your local Chili's. I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but we call it the Molten Disaster.
Yeah, it's the volcano cakes.
Yeah, it's like chocolate on chocolate with ice cream on more chocolate and more chocolate.
Chili's also has like the big chocolate chip cookie that you eat half of, and then you're tired of it, and then you have diarrhea later. But I
awesome.
do still order it, even though that's true.
That is not my experience with that.
With you.
But
It's just too much.
We
of
don't
that
have enough
cookie.
time on this
It's-
podcast to answer that question.
I don't know. We've had enough time in life.
And
The
meanwhile,
universe might
Taco Bell-
expand, like disappear first.
I'm immune to Taco Bell, but that goddamn molten cookie.
So here's, I don't understand some people. My girlfriend took her
you
son.
could just stop there.
no,
Continue.
no, I've already
See, I
Gave
have
her
to
my
be careful
complaints
because my
before.
wife listens to this, so I don't know if you're in a similar boat.
Nope. I've already talked to her about it. But basically, she and her son went to Chili's and they had dinner,
Fine.
and then they drove. It's like only 2 blocks away. Then they went to the Cheesecake Factory to get cheesecake.
They
Yeah.
have cheesecake at Chili's.
You can have cheesecake at Chili's.
Factory
Also,
doesn't
you could
actually have
pay
that great
like
of
$20 less and just go and get like 4 cheesecakes from the grocery store.
Yeah.
In the amount that you paid Cheesecake
Yeah,
Factory
but
for
it's
their
about
cheesecake.
variety.
Just never go to the Cheesecake Factory. It
It's-
is the
it's-
worst.
It's so expensive.
And they've got 700 things on their menu, so it's like do 5 things well instead of 700 things
Oh, yeah.
crappily.
Wait,
Yeah.
so you've watched every restaurant
It's-
repair show ever?
Yes,
Yeah.
every single time Gordon Ramsay goes to a restaurant, he's like, "Why do you have this many freaking things?" I went to the Cheesecake Factory, and it's like you're flipping through pages like it's Moby Dick, and there's just like this one has spaghetti, and then this one has like knockwurst, and it's like, why the fuck do you sell both of those things? You're supposed to sell me cheesecake.
A really expensive cheesecake as well.
Yeah, well, they sell me nothing because it's terrible and I hate them.
It's
Yeah,
not even
that's
that good a cheesecake.
No, it's definitely not.
Yeah.
I would
No.
much rather just go to Woodman's and buy a whole
Correct.
cheesecake for
Yeah.
half the price.
Correct. Yeah, for half the price. You could have 2 full cheesecakes.
I'll get
for
2 of the
price
variety
one.
packs for the price of a
Yes.
slice at, Spaghetti's R Us in the mall there. Look at spaghetti?
Yeah,
I'll go to Olive Garden. What are you doing, Cheesecake Factory?
I don't like that restaurant at all.
Was that all the Zappity Grumble?
That's all the Zappity Grumbles.
Wow. I was imagining there'd be much weirder ones.
Well,
Our viewership is apparently having an off day because they usually
Oh,
are
okay.
weirder.
So recommendation.
recommendations.
Yep.
I got one.
You got one? All right.
So I thoroughly enjoy playing the game RimWorld that's on Steam, and they just came out with the 1.1 or 1.0, I think it's 1.1, release and expansion pack for Royalty, which is a shit ton of fun.
Make
So-
sure you download that from Steam and not Pornhub. Because RimWorld is a completely different thing.
Yeah. Although I enjoy that too.
Yeah.
No.
Not saying.
Steam.
Not saying.
Steam.
I mean, I'm, not knocking your kink, but
Yeah.
hey.
So it's a roguelike sim game. I don't know if that's a roguelike or not, but it's
I mean, anything roguelike now just means like you die, you start
Yeah,
over.
yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
that's the term
that's
for
what it is. Yeah, so it's one of those sims where it's like Prison Architect, where you try to build up through your colony and try to make them survive, and the computer either randomly gives you shit that stomps on your face, or builds a progression that is harder and harder and harder, and it's a lot of fun.
Speaking of Sims and speaking of shit, so Zoo Tycoon is a great game. And a couple of years ago, I'm like, oh, look, I have Zoo Tycoon on my bookshelf. I'm going to play Zoo Tycoon again because that's a fun game. So I started up, I start playing through the campaign. I get to like the 4th mission, and the mission thing is that you have to have like an average animal happiness of like 96% at the end of 1 year. Not by the end of the year, at the end of the year. That way you can't just have like one happy koala bear and end the game. So I'm playing the thing, and I am crushing it. My zoo is like the 8th wonder of the world. Everybody loves it. Everybody's happy. The animals are dancing like it's a goddamn Disney movie. Then New Year's Eve, all of my zebras simultaneously take giant shits. They fill their enclosure with a metric ton of shit. And so all my custodians are like, oh, I'm going to go clean up the zebra thing. My zebras are like, we hate our exhibit. We're literally neck deep in shit. Bing bong, New Year's Day, Nathan loses. Fuck you, Zoo Tycoon. You are the Cheesecake Factory of Sin games.
So is that an anti-recommendation?
Oh, man,
is that what
fucking shitting zebras. I was so mad, Oz.
Okay, moving along. So I have said before I have the Xbox Game Pass for PC, which I actually like. I actually really like because I can just look at the list and say, oh, hey, this is an interesting game and play it. And on this podcast, we like indie games and we like roguelikes. Mm-hmm. So one of the games that I picked up off of that recently is Wizard of Legend, and it is really, really good, and you should play it.
What is it?
It is
2D, 3D.
It is an overhead 2D action. It is vaguely Diablo-ish, and it is a roguelike where or it is a roguelite because as you go, you can unlock new things that either show up in the dungeon or you can pick a set of spells and one relic to start with, and there are and your robe because your robe matters as well, and it's as you optimize your build that way. I mean, most of what the progression during each run depends on the randomness in the dungeon and how well you kill stuff. But it is
it's a very like Nuclear Throne or Enter the Gungeon style. Yeah.
It's fast paced. It's difficult, and it's a lot of fun.
Excellent.
I got skipped, but I'll come back to me, and I'll recommend something that I know Andy will agree with at the very least. I think everybody likes this game because it's amazing. But coming up in a couple weeks is Doom Eternal. And if you haven't by yet, you should play. And even if you have played, you should play again because Doom Eternal is coming out soon. Doom 2016. Doom 2016 is one of the absolute most fun experiences you will have. It is a masterpiece in good game design. It's an absolute blast. It's fun to play. It's fast-paced. Stuff like the way that health works, like the glory kill system. So melee finishing an enemy gets health to appear, and so it encourages that up close. Like that's the kind of I appreciate when designers think of things like that. Like what do we want our player to do? How can we naturally encourage it as opposed to forcing it to happen? It's so fun. There's lots of Easter eggs. You can find old the 1996 version of Doom levels hidden in things. The soundtrack is amazing. The fluff is amazing. It is an absolute blast, and you should either play it for the first time or replay it before Doom Eternal comes out.
Also, check out
Isabel and Doomslayer being best friends.
No,
those memes are the best.
No, but there's the guy who did the soundtrack for it. He has his own like TED Talk-ish that he did to a bunch of different sound engineers, and he's going over like how he came up with the sound thing. It's like it's like a guitar noise or just like beeps that are going into one mixer into another mixer to another mixer and then relayed back and forth, and it's
the stuff he did is crazy. Like even like obvious stuff like having chainsaw noises melded into the guitars, but stuff like if you take the spectrogram of the sound and display it, it has like pictures and symbols and demon faces and stuff that you can see because Doom has that stuff in it. Cool. And so it's really neat that he took the time to do that. 'Cause who cares? Like, why would you care? But he's like, this will be cool. I'm going to put this in there.
He did it as a joke. He's like, I'm going to go ahead and put 666 into this. And like literally maybe like
people
3 days later,
stuff.
people found him.
Oh, because
in the music already.
Some people have the ear for that kind of thing where they're like, oh,
it's silent. It's silent.
It's discernible. Somebody has to run it through a...
Oh, geez.
Somebody who is still... The one person who actually registered their copy of Winamp, and so it had the spectrograph displayer.
But yeah, no, that whole talk, it's like a TED talk. It's like about an hour long. It is amazing hearing how they came up with the sounds and how it's just it's a natural thing in the game. It lives by what you do in the game. As
My
compared to other
headcanon
soundtracks.
is, when you're playing a game and you get to the boss and boss music starts playing, my headcanon is twofold. One, the music that's playing all the time is the boss music, but it's for the demons, not for you.
Sure.
And number two, it's entirely diegetic. In that universe, that music is blaring from the Doomslayer's armor at all times.
Sure. But like to your point, Andy, a good it's like food. If you think about that, the good aroma of a food makes the taste of it better and the sight of it better. That same sort of thing exists in that game at that point for the music, is that it immerses you in the world so deeply. And honestly, you can look at the same thing with a whole lot of stuff, because in my brain, it's like you look at any of the Privateer Press's games, and you look at any of the stuff where you're like, this faction sings to me because it's this aesthetic or this feature or whatever. It's like it grasps you and pulls you in and holds you.
Technically, War Machine or Warcaster or whatever, like if this base just said Juggernaut and had a stat line on it, it would have zero effect on how you play the game of War Machine.
Correct.
Literally none of the models are necessary for the gameplay aspect of War Machine, but that aesthetic flavors and it bleeds over. They're not entirely separate from each other.
And that's, to that point, like why Warcaster is real good for 3D terrain, because it's that table.
Yeah, it feels alive.
Yes. And that's,
Well, 3D terrain is good for miniatures games in general.
yes.
Yeah, especially if you have a hill that you want your nicely painted model to tip over and break on. That's why hills are gone.
Which is why Aurora and Nemo took them to the future.
Yes, thank you, Aurora Nemo. I got tired of having my model half on a hill with two dice propped up under the other side of the model.
We still have to worry about tables not being level between.
Oh, that's not as bad. Like when people had the hills that like it was a 45-degree angle, like, and so like a jack couldn't balance on it, so you had to like prop them up. It was just a nightmare.
You haven't been to the conventions I've had to be in where the tables are not level and there's like a 4-inch gap between tables.
At ATC, we've dealt with that.
I know we have.
We've been shoving silverware under tables to lift up the leg. They're like, "Hey, where's all the silverware from the buffet?" I don't know, but these tables sure are flatter now.
Did I recommend Blasphemous
No.
yet?
No.
I don't think you
I
right.
talked about it a
not
little bit.
today, but I don't know that he has even in past.
I was saying not
episodes.
today.
So Blasphemous is a Metroidvania.
Are we all doing
game.
video games today? I guess it depends what Oz does, but so far we're 4 for 4 video games.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's a Metroidvania platformer. It is a very old New Testament style game. It's what I'd like to call Catholicvania.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, you were telling me about this.
yeah, Catholicvania. I like it.
It's just a very solid, in-depth Metroidvania game. It's kind of hard to really explain other than just get it. It's blasphemous. It's fun.
Yeah, the art aesthetic is very, very dark and interesting. Like almost like if you think like things like Diablo 1 that had that really dark aesthetic that we kind of don't see as much anymore. Blasphemous has that
Darkest
to
Dungeon, that kind of.
it. Not the same
but we're
art
talking-
style. Not the same art
Yeah, 'cause
style, but that
that's a style.
feel.
The whole
that
feeling
feel
is-
of it,
is
definitely.
basically
The art
like
style is different, but
Everything is in pain.
Yeah,
Everything
yeah.
is all about suffering.
yeah.
You're supposed to get rid of your guilt and everything.
Guilt being a game mechanic is
Yeah, it's a very good, solid Metroidvania style game. It came out, I want to say,
within the last year.
in the fall. So I mean, it's
Pretty
Still
new.
new.
yeah, it's a really good game. I'm on the final boss right now. I haven't destroyed my controller yet, but I'm about to. But it's honestly not that hard. So, but it has some elements of, I think, Dark Souls as well. So you get to like little shrines that you can pray at, and it spawns all the monsters up again, but
then
you
it's
get all your
saved,
health
yeah.
back.
Yep.
So yeah, it's gory, gruesome, and entertaining.
It's 2D side-scrolly Dark Souls with
Yep.
Catholic guilt
Yep.
draped on top.
Catholicvania.
Yep.
Okay, since you guys all did video games, I'm going to do Netflix.
Oh,
If you haven't watched the new series, I Am Not Okay With This, you should watch it. It's very, very short. The episodes are only 24 minutes long. I think there's only 7 of them. There might be 8. It's got a couple of the kids from It in it. It's got a supernatural high school drama kind of thing going on. The story's told in a non-linear fashion, which I'm a big fan of, and it's really, really good.
So I saw an ad
but
for
it's a
that
little
on
bloody.
Facebook. I saw an ad for
It's
that
a
on
little bloody.
Facebook ads, and
Yeah.
the ad said, like, I am not okay with this now streaming on Netflix, and the people in the chat were all very confused because they thought that was a statement of the ad was not
Yeah.
okay with the concept
Yeah.
of the show. So they're all like, A,
Yeah.
why aren't you okay with your show streaming? B, what's the name of your show? And I'm not sure how many of those people were joking and how many were just a sign that humanity's doomed.
It's like
Yeah.
the same crew that was trying to get Good Omens taken off of Netflix.
Oh yeah.
Because of religious values and that.
Yeah. And Netflix promised that they would not have Good Omens anymore.
Correct. Because Good Omens
But yeah,
is streaming
that's what I would say.
on Amazon.
Yeah, I'll second that one. That's a good one.
I haven't seen it yet, so I'll add that to my list of.
I
shows to
watched
watch.
it in I found it on the Friday or whatever that it got posted, and I watched all of it in one night. It's only a couple hours long, effectively.
I still don't have Netflix, so I'm one of those people. Exactly.
You should probably have Netflix. It's worth it. I mean, that's a fair counterpoint.
I paint models and I watch streams.
Yeah.
You could have Netflix on as you paint models too.
I just watch Moon run through Doom and other games. So,
Fair.
and I normally stream my own stuff on.
I just put on
so-
Pluto TV because, in honest, like Netflix, the number one show on Netflix is turning it on, browsing through the menu for 15 minutes, and then turning it off.
15 minutes. Oh, that's like Little League.
I'm happy that they're turning off you can turn off the auto play previews.
How do you do that?
Because you can't yet, but they said that they're instituting the option to turn that off because I just want to read your goddamn description. I don't need you to start playing
Yeah.
noise.
Yeah.
And so I do this dance where I'll read a sentence, then flip to the next show, then back to read the next sentence, and then flip to the next show and back. And it's like this press your luck thing to see how long I can read before the music's gonna start.
You are.
It's annoying, Travis,
is.
and I'm not
It is.
alone. Enough people are annoyed by it that Netflix is instituting an actual setting to turn it off.
Sure, but it should just be off by default then.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like, good requirements and good testing would prevent this.
Yes.
Well, you know.
Like, that's my job.
But counterpoint, Netflix doesn't care about your enjoyment. They care about your
Money.
engagement, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
they'd rather you annoyingly watch a show
Yeah, 'cause you might like
than be happy not watching a show.
But you might like
They
it.
don't care if you like it. They care if you watch it. They
Yeah.
do not care if you like it.
No.
No, they don't even care if you watch it. They just care as long
If
as
it
you
plays.
They just care, no, they don't.
Yeah.
They just care as long as you pay the bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So that's it.
Yep.
So one last reminder, if you haven't been to the Warcaster Kickstarter, go to Kickstarter.com and look up Warcaster, or go to Warcaster.com
Yep.
and follow all the pretty links.
Yes, and I don't know if as you probably know, Chappy had, but I
Did
have it
we
right here.
get Buster?
12 days to go. 12
Yeah,
days
12
to go.
days. And,
So-
and on my phone right now, it's at
I was
299,587.
going to ask if we hit
There are
if we hit
$413 to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Before
we're
we hit the
really,
300K.
really close to 300,000.
So Oz, do you think it's possible for
Yeah.
demo
What?
set to come to Adepticon?
I have no idea.
Damn it. I knew you weren't the person to ask, but I had to try.
So part of the weirdness of that entire situation is the models we played with on the stream were studio models.
Oh, God.
And I think we're going to play again on Tuesday, and we're probably going to play with studio models again. And we're going to play with a few of the get your paint on models and that kind of stuff thrown in too, to play more of a full skirmish game, I think.
Excellent.
But yeah, we're a lot of what we have right now are still studio models because production is starting to crank up, and like they send out all those copies to influencers and stuff. But that doesn't necessarily have gotten to the point where we can paint a bunch to do other things with in the building. So no promises of any kind of whether you're going to be able to do demos or anything else like that at Adepticon for Warcaster.
Okay.
But you will be able to buy the Alt Sculpt Coalition Weaver, the Marcher Worlds Weaver, the one with no helmet. That model will be there.
Cool. Right here.
Sweet.
It's gorgeous.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Well,
Well, thank you so much, Oz,
Yep.
for being on. We appreciate you spending this time to share this little thing we call life.
Yeah.
What? Don't look at me like that.
Privateer Press is
Can I
life.
have a Jerry Springer moment every once in a while?
No, Privateer
No.
Press is life.
I'd appreciate no Jerry Springer moments happening in the basement here.
No,
You guys
I
can
like
throw
my
chairs
set.
if you want.
No.
just his final thought, where he tried to pretend like the
hurt me.
first 59 minutes of his show were an utter trash, and he tries to redeem it with 60 seconds of talking like Gandhi.
Fair enough.
Gandhi wasn't a good person. You told me this earlier.
Yeah, but he talked like he was.
Okay.
Civilization, he just tries to nuke me all the time.
My favorite mathematical coding error of all time.
Is the hyper aggressive?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they put him at 0 aggression, and the democracy gives you -1 aggression, so it looped around to 255 aggression on a scale of 0 to 10.
What?
That's what happened in Civ 1.
Yep.
They're like, we
I
want
know, I
Gandhi to be
get it.
peaceful, so he's a 0, and then he gets democracy and goes to 255 on a scale of 10. And they've kept it in every sequel because now it's just a tradition that Gandhi is the most aggressive person in Civ.
It's testing. It bothers me.
Yeah, yeah.
Rollovers are testing.
Travis, life isn't perfect.
No, life has to be tested.
What?
Bloost.
I think
So
that's.
the unexamined life is not worth living.
Yeah.
Thanks, Travis. Thanks, Oz, for coming on the
Yep,
podcast.
you're welcome.
Yeah,
Thanks
no
everyone
problem.
for listening. Go share that gosh darn tweet. I want my unlock.
Yeah,
I posted
please.
it as Crippled System.
Yeah.
And back to Kickstarter because we want more models.
Yep.
And it's a fun game. You should want to
Hell
play
yeah,
it.
the game's amazing.
Yeah. Thanks everybody.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Bye.